This is Sybert signing into General 0 Hour onto the map, Scorching Heat, for the first of our 1v1 show matches in the north, playing the blue China nuke. This is Reznov. And in the south, as the red also playing China nuke, this is BoYcaH. BoYcaH versus Reznov in a 1v1 best of 7, sponsored by Blockade Runner. A big thanks to this guy for sponsoring this, and this is no ordinary show match, but it is basically 3 ordinary show matches. We have 3 1v1s lined up for you today: 0 Hour, Kane's Wrath, and Red Alert 3, and to some degree, the fate of each one depends on the other 2. I'll explain in just a moment, but I also have to say a big thanks to ExiLe for helping me set up this 0 Hour show match, as we have a little bit of a tussle going to be happening over this oil derrick. I think blue shot first, but blue also has a rank up, so that's a win there for Reznov. He's going to get both oil derricks, it seems like, here on the right and over on the left. So a great start for Reznov in that case. Although there is a nuke Battlemaster making its way over to the right-hand side to stop that second oil derrick capture. A big thanks to ExiLe for helping me put together this show match. He basically chose the players and arranged it for me and then passed off the replays to me. So a big thanks to him for helping me make this 0 Hour show match happen. I will link his channel in the description if you want to check out some great 0 Hour music covers. He has a channel where he has some covers of I think he also has some gameplay matches, but he has some covers of music as well, and they're great. Anyways, Blockade Runner's 3 1v1 show match idea means that each winner of a best of 7 gets $50 right out of the gate, and the team that wins the show match, each player gets an additional $25. So there is $75 per match. And I should mention the teams now. Team number 1 is going to be BoYcaH, Drive, and Zugspitze. Team number 2 is going to be Reznov, Futurama, and DutchArmy. So depending on who wins each of these show matches, their teammates may be benefiting, or, it might be that the people who win all of the show matches are also all on the same team, and in that case, they'll just win extra money. But we'll see. Every player will get a payout if they win, but they might get an additional payout if their teammates win as well. Oil derrick does finally get captured there by Reznov. We've seen this double helix from both players a little bit here as they're going for the expansions towards the middle of the map. And in this China nuke mirror, it's, of course, equal armies, equal arsenals. It's just about how you play the individual moment. And both of those red guard getting cleaned up. And both oil derricks remain under Reznov's control on the left side. BoYcaH trying to pull out some sneaky stuff, trying to make something happen as the propaganda center gets added on for Reznov. He's looking to be in a comfortable position here in game number 1. But of course, a lot still can happen. Triple helixes moving over to the left side. One of the artillery platforms being grabbed by Reznov. The other one, I'm not actually sure that anyone has grabbed it. No, it still remains neutral. As BoYcaH, he's tried a couple of times to strike out onto the northern side of the map, but without much luck yet. He might be able to get a win in a couple of moments. But his first double helix has already gone down, so it's going to be 3 double helixes against 2. A couple of GATs are mixed into this as well. Nuclear Battlemaster gets cleaned up there as BoYcaH hunts some targets, finds 1, and 2 red guard going to be making their way to that artillery platform. Black Lotus out and present, at least for BoYcaH. Maybe Reznov as well has one running around. Oh, yeah. I think that's, no, that's a listening outpost in the middle of the map. Meanwhile, Black Lotus does manage to sneak by the double helixes. Artillery platform gets grabbed. GAT tank's going to be able to fire a couple of shots at those helixes, but No kills just yet. Fresh supply center going down in the middle of the map for Reznov, and BoYcaH hasn't yet grabbed this oil derrick, but he is finally going to be putting that Black Lotus to work. Black Lotus can turn the tide of the game, so to my eye, it feels like Reznov is in a commanding position in this game, but Black Lotus could certainly turn that around. She won't escape here. She did grab the oil derrick. I feel like you usually want a little bit more for a Black Lotus, but we'll see what BoYcaH is able to do. Artillery platform landing a shot. It's going to be Overlords versus Overlords. ECM's also here. Double Gats, and it's going to be an overwhelming force for Reznov. ECM standing alone almost here as the Overlord and the Gats explode. The ECM does as well, and the nuclear missile gets added on to Reznov's arsenal at just 6 minutes in. BoYcaH has been defeated. The first point goes to Reznov, but this is a best of 7. There's always a chance for a comeback, and that felt very much like Reznov was in control. Hopefully, BoYcaH can get himself into a better position in the early game for game number 2. Which takes us to the map Blossoming Valley, featuring this wonderful little party over here for a little bit of a mix-up. We've seen our mirror, but now we're going to see how these two guys handle two separate factions. In the north, it's going to be Reznov playing as the stealth GLA general, and in the south, playing as the China tank. Well, I guess you already know who it is, but it's Reznov playing red. And yeah, so it's going to be China tank versus GLA stealth. And again, I have to say thank you to ExiLe for choosing the rules. I know there's a lot of variance as far as how general zero-hour players like to arrange show matches, and oftentimes the matchups are decided beforehand because there are certain matchups which are considered balanced and other matchups that are considered imbalanced. And so oftentimes, almost like how you sometimes do map selections beforehand, you also do faction selections. And in some cases, it'll be, you know, one player plays stealth and the other player plays tank, and then the next match they switch them back. And usually that ace match will be a mirror matchup as well. So usually you have to end on a mirror matchup so that you can not have anyone upset that they got the bad faction in a particular matchup. Going to be a terrorist and a couple of rockets inside of that technical. Once again, we do have the blue Reznov in the north and the red BoYcaH in the south, which works out nicely for me so that I don't mix them up as much. Mines just in time. Those mines finishing literally moments before that technical shows up, and everything gets grabbed there. Even the dozer survives, so a perfect catch there for BoYcaH. In the meantime, Reznov with this wonderful tunnel splits. He's got a couple of neutral buildings captured as well, but he's got those tunnels in very strategic places across the middle of the map. We'll see if he's able to hold on to them, but for now, he's got a really nice setup. Oil derricks haven't quite been captured just yet, although they are going to be close, and then it looks like it's artillery platforms on the right side for both players. Final tunnel network in the middle coming up for Reznov, and he's actually going straight into a palace, which maybe that is normal, but it feels a little bit fast compared to the zero-hour matches that I have in my mind. But again, maybe it is the norm to go one arms dealer and then immediately into the palace before the 3-minute mark. Meanwhile, second technical making its way down to the south. BoYcaH is going to have some actual units to deal with this time because Reznov doesn't just drive the technical into the mines right from the beginning. He does run everything into the mines eventually, so that will be the end of that attack. And the Propaganda Center taking a little bit of damage from the firewall, but not too much. Palace and Propaganda Center going to be very similar timings here for both players. Meanwhile, Dragon Tanks and a couple of GATs, or at least one GAT, and it looks like 4 Dragon Tanks going to be clearing out the middle of the map, trying to reduce these Civ structures and also reduce down these tunnel networks. Huge flame wall here from 4 Dragon Tanks for these quad cannons to try and deal with quads, unable to break this wall of fire, which this is one of the bigger firewalls I've seen It's been a while since I've seen someone use more than 2 Dragon Tanks in a firewall, but absolutely massive amounts of damage. And that hijacker getting awfully close to burning himself up and just walking into the flames. He does eventually turn around. He does manage to escape, and it's nice to know that the doodads, the civilians in this case, are completely unharmed from all of this chaos, which is present right outside their doorstep. Tunnel did manage to escape notice at first. Quads pop out, and then they back on off. 2 more tunnels, 3 more tunnels nearby, but they are going to be getting spotted, and the quad pop does happen. A couple of gats may be going down, but the firewall is going to be reestablished right on top of these 2 tunnels, one right as it finishes, and 1 listening outpost did go down. Battle bus gets shut down by the ECM. Reznov not nearly in control like he was in that last game. BoYcaH sets up an expansion in the middle of the map as the battle bus goes down, as the tunnel networks almost all get shut down as well. In this last tunnel network, I don't know that it has been spotted. Yes, it has, and I guess it doesn't have the, any stealth before it's created, so that one, no real chance of escaping. Firewall may be able to be established before anything really pops out of that tunnel network. We'll see what Reznov is able to do to defend his shrinking line of offense. Quad pop does show up. Rockets get a couple of shots off as well. A couple of gats going down. ECMs are here to lock down at least 1 quad, stop it from escaping. And the friendly fire is a bit brutal here as these Dragon Tanks burn down half of BoYcaH's army, as well as that tunnel network. And finally, this other tunnel network has been spotted. Battle bus manages to grab all of the flamers on the right side and gets several upgrades, picks up a ton of scrap, and will manage to escape up to the high ground into the tunnel that is waiting. BoYcaH, with a strong attack on the right side, nearly busts through, and Reznov comes through with a little bit of defense, but it's not going to be enough to stop the black napalm as that upgrade comes through and starts torching these buildings even more quickly. And suddenly Reznov is going to have even more troubles to deal with. He managed to shut down the attack on the right side. This battle bus doing good damage to these flamers in the middle, and the ECM not able to shut down that battle bus, but the MiG comes in. The firestorm doesn't ignite, and the battle bus does manage to escape, but the front door has almost been completely broken open. Reznov gets a win in game number 1, but game number 2 is looking a lot more contentious, especially even as Black Lotus comes up to the front line. And BoYcaH says, you got a win in 1 game, but it's not going to be quite as easy in the second game. ECM's shut down a battle bus, shut down a quad as well for the Dragon Tanks to do their work. The MiGs as well coming through, and suddenly BoYcaH is looking alive. Black Lotus hasn't been able to do critical damage yet, but she still is alive. She still is keeping that hope and that opportunity. Man, that 1 battle bus all scrapped up from earlier, just shutting down this attack. This wave gets denied, but both players still with about 4K in the bank. Well, when I started that sentence, and now significantly less, but they do still both have a bit of cash coming in and enough cash in the bank that they can rebuild whatever they have lost from the last couple of engagements. Black Lotus almost getting shut down by that quad. Fortunately, there's no stealth detection there, so Black Lotus is able to escape. ECM gets the shutdown, but is this just a distraction? Well, maybe not. There is a tunnel getting established here on the left side, and that worker may be spotted by that Dragon Tank. MiGs coming in. This battle bus still has a little bit of health in it, which means the rockets inside are able to do some damage. Black Lotus is grabbing something. Okay, it's just going to be the artillery platform in the south. Stinger site gets established, and this is a lot of static defense to crunch through. Meanwhile, BoYcaH's army is not all here, not all present, so those Gats just taking a couple of rockets. They do manage to back off before too many losses are taken, and this is quite the army from BoYcaH. Dragon Tanks on the left side going to be shutting down that tunnel expansion as well. BoYcaH doing a phenomenal job of controlling his half of the map and actually being able to put pressure on the northern side of the map as well. There is something sneaky in the bottom right. It's just going to be a worker. We'll see if he's able to establish any kind of an escape point for his forces. MiGs come in. Goodbye to the palace. Firestorm does ignite, and the palace will burn down. The tunnel network underneath gets eliminated, and the Stinger site is not enough firepower to stop this incredible Chinese army. The tunnel networks might be able to take down a couple of more units, but it's going to be the GG as Reznov takes the L in game number 2, and BoYcaH evens up the score 1-1, keeping hope alive for Team 2. Both teams in equal standing, and Reznov with that GLA army just was not able to hack it. I may have actually said BoYcaH keeping hopes alive for Team 2, but he's actually on Team 1, so he puts a point on the board for Team 1. And that will do it for this game. Let's jump into game number 3. And that takes us to Oil Oasis for game number 3. The score is locked 1-1. And there's the Oil Oasis that the map is named for, or at least part of it. In the north, playing the blue GLA, this is Reznov, looking to regain his momentum from the red USA superweapons in the south. It's, of course, BoYcaH selling off that command center, starting out strong. And this is a map that I have not seen before. Once again, we have that north-south orientation like Tournament Desert, but quite a bit different in terms of the layout. I love these two little pawns in the middle to break up the terrain and separate out the map into different areas. And this is, okay, we got supply piles over here on the left side. On the right side, there is a reinforcement pad, and it seems like there's just 4 oil derricks. It doesn't seem like, it's called Oil Oasis, but it's not like that map Black Gold that has just a ton of oil derricks on it. Both players going toe-to-toe in those matches. A mirror matchup favoring Reznov, but then the split factions is where BoYcaH was able to get the win. And now it's going to be USA Superweapons versus Vanilla GLA. So we'll see what Reznov is able to do to potentially gain the momentum back for his team and for himself in this match. Of course, whoever wins this match gets $50 regardless. It is only that additional $25 that the team score matters for. So ultimately, you make more money if you win your show match, and you make a little bit of money if your team comes through as the victors. One terrorist does get through, but the other one does not, and the EMP doesn't even expire on the technical, so the Patriot is able to knock that down. Laser lock on the technical, it's barely enough. One of the missile defenders go down, but a couple of RPG troopers and a worker do manage to escape from that little tussle. This tunnel network needs to be dealt with by BoYcaH. Second technical shows up, so this tunnel network may actually survive this fight. One RPG trooper does survive 2 crush attempts, and that Humvee will eventually... No! He gets saved! A wonderful save there by that Chinook, and actually the Hellfire drone spits out from that Chinook, and, well, there the tunnel network is going to allow a little bit of escape for those RPG troopers. Patriot missile gets established, but it gets shut down before anything can happen. The Dozer as well getting targeted, but it will not be killed off. 3 Humvees here are going to make sure that that Patriot is allowed to be established. And yeah, right around the 3-minute mark, that Palace is coming up. So my Palace timings are just a little bit slow in my old brain, but I feel like people used to get the Palace a little bit slower, and that very well may be true. I thought these 3 Humvees would allow this Patriot to get up, but it seems that answer is no, because the Dozer gets shut down, and 2 technicals die. 3 technicals die on exit as a second tunnel network gets established. And for now, BoYcaH doesn't want to try his luck at jumping on that tunnel network. Of course, you never know what might pop out of there, what kind of firepower may emerge quite suddenly and give you a bit of a bad time. Firebase and a Patriot on the left side. Oil derricks in the middle of the map have been captured by both teams. Additional Dozer does manage to secure that EMP Patriot. So finally, BoYcaH has that defense that he was looking for minutes ago, now up and running. Don't see a strategy center just yet coming out from our USA Super Weapons player. Okay, well, as I say that, there it gets begun. It gets beginned. is apparently what I was about to say. Double tunnel network on the right side does mean that there may be a way to sneak some units past this EMP Patriot to quickly take down this strategy center. But we'll see how well BoYcaH is able to defend that. I am very glad at how active each one of these matches has been. I wasn't sure if, with me, you know, not setting anything up, if it was just going to be stalemate-y type matches that just draw on out and no one makes any headway and it's just a war of attrition that lasts forever. But no, ExiLe doing a great job of choosing some matchups or maps, and maybe he worked together with the players on that. But both players bringing some good performances, good games. Oil Refinery going to be getting grabbed by Reznov as he drops an additional supply center there in the middle of the map. A couple more terrorists do get taken down, and the EMP Patriot still stands up to all of the damage. Reznov taking over a big chunk of the map. It feels like he's got a lot of the area under his control. He's harvesting from these middle of the map kind of expansion points, and Search and Destroy has been initiated. So we do now have the additional range for all of the American units. And that extra range allows them to engage and escape so much more easily. But we'll see if the income advantage of Reznov is able to overwhelm that. Quads, nope, mostly technicals actually going to be popping out of that tunnel network. One technical gets tagged by that EMP, and it'll be up to these Rock Vs to shut everything else down. BoYcaH going to be looking good with his Rock V army. He's got an ambo as well, so he can keep everyone on high health. One of those things that I'm terrible at doing every time I play USA. I always think, oh, Rock Vs are such an easy unit to use, and if you're good, they indeed are an easy unit to use. But if you're bad, your ambo still gets taken out. It doesn't stay with the rest of your units, and then they just slowly get whittled away. And obviously these guys don't make those kinds of mistakes that I do. Supply stash going to be getting shut down. Flashbangs on active use from these Rangers to clear out the buildings and also shut down those infantry very easily. A couple of rocket buggies pop on out. 5 of them emerge to snipe a Humvee on exit. And the Aurora coming in, cleans up 2 quads and a tunnel network that was started. Very nicely done. Tags the oil refinery maybe just a bit, but not much more than that. And command center now going to be established in the bottom right-hand corner, so we will have those support powers back online, but also the ability to build dozers if one more gets sniped. I assume he only had 2 dozers. He might have snuck out a 3rd dozer, but anyways, now that the command center is back online, he doesn't have to worry about any of that. A couple of buildings do get grabbed by these rocket troopers. These missile defenders going to be able to put a little bit of pain on the right side of the map for BoYcaH. So he is going to be fortunate in the sense that he can take a bit of control of the map now, take over a little bit of territory, and maybe even get something done with his Colonel Burton. Both of those tunnels getting cleaned up by those Aurora strikes. And there is also a Jarmenkel out on the map. And, well, Colonel Burton going to take a little damage. Curious choice. I thought for sure that this tunnel network was revealed by the spy drone, but maybe not, as Colonel Burton just runs right into it and dies basically immediately. Jarman Callum, on the other hand, going to be moving out to the middle of the map. This beacon in the bottom side of the map still drawing my attention every time. I mean, he just beaconed that the strategic center is there, and big drop on at least a couple of quads in the middle of the map. Oil refinery going to be changing hands as BoYcaH takes it for himself. Both players wanting to cement their lead in this series. Perfect kill there by that technical. Doesn't even die as he escapes. AP ammo has finished up, so those rocket buggies are pretty fully upgraded there as they are apparently awaiting a Scud Storm. Okay, Reznov going for the Scud. Not something that I thought would happen, but at least 2 Scud Storms on the way for Reznov. So he thinks he's going to need that extra bit of firepower that potentially can't be stopped. We'll see if the particle cannons are able to outstrip him because, of course, these are USA super weapon particle cannons. Terrorists do make it through one line of defense, but not through the second, as 2 Humvees get sniped perfectly there by Reznov. And quad cannons maybe are going to try and move in on this position, starting to threaten a USA player in his home base for the first time in a little while. A couple of Pathfinders are here. One of them gets run over, the other avoids damage. 4 now. Alpha Auroras come in, clear out every single quad, and it's going to be up to the rocket buggies, but they can't do much. They do manage to clean up almost everything on the deck. 1 Alpha Aurora does manage to survive. A 1-2 punch coming through for Reznov, but he didn't do that critical damage. He did slow down that particle cannon. He did take the USA players' power offline, at least for a little bit. And fortunately for BoYcaH, he has been able to take some of these supplies from the middle of the map. He's been able to recapture this oil refinery, which is now being taken out, so he won't get much advantage from it. Stinger Sight takes a lot of damage, but the tunnel network underneath doesn't go down. And that quad getting a couple of kills, but ultimately not going to be able to shut down the expansion in the middle of the map. Meanwhile, on the left side, more terrorists, a couple of quads, a couple of rocket buggies all moving in. Aurora's going down. They landed their shots, but they don't manage to refuel. Supply center does stay here, so he does have still this building. Not that there's anything good nearby, but hopefully that will buy him an extra couple of seconds, as BoYcaH has a shrinking footprint on the mini-map. Reznov is swallowing up everything that he can. And he hasn't totally overwhelmed just yet, but on the minimap, he is making big progress. And of course, that might just mean that BoYcaH's defense gets tighter and tighter as the game goes on, and Reznov wastes more and more units trying to crack it. Pathfinders now out. Sometimes people in the comments are wondering why players don't build Pathfinders, and it's not that they don't. It's just that some matchups and in some cases players prefer not to. But in this case, we do have Pathfinders being activated, and well, another fuel air bomb cleans up a couple of rockets, a quad as well. These Alpha Auroras doing massive damage for BoYcaH, lifting his army out of the depths of despair and allowing them to actually stand a fighting chance. That one technical cleaning up 3 missile defenders quite nicely there, as that guy was going to be eliminated regardless. And the quad cannon goes down, which means these rocket buggies need to escape. They're not going to be able to fight 3 missile defenders like that. 2 Scud Storms online, 3 particle cannons online as well. And those Scud Storms took a little while to actually come online, but now that they're here, no low power to worry about. And I don't think we've seen any USA power steals. Spectre gunship gets called in. Oiled Erics are going to be the target. Very good choice there. No chance to sell it off. No chance to really avoid it. You're just going to be taking away income from your opponent by cleaning up those Oiled Erics. So very nice choice there by BoYcaH. Scud Storm, or not Scud Storm, Storm Stinger Sight. There we go. Said it several times earlier, but just forgot it in the moment. Stinger Sight gets cleared out. And, well, Reznov, he's made some headway, but he's suddenly finding himself not running out of steam, but certainly slowing down. He's still got a decent amount of income, and he does have a small army of black markets, at least 3, 4, 5, and 2 more. So he will be at a minimum of 7. He might have some other ones around the map that I just haven't spotted. So his secondary income is being activated. We are going to get the longer match, but these guys are still staying active. It's not just Rock V's versus quads. There is at least a little more variety, and we do have the particle cannons and the Scud Storms on the horizon. The first one going to be timing out right now, and does he wait for the second particle cannon so that he can knock down one of those Scud Storms? Toxin Tractor clears out the building, and man, that beacon's still flashing after it was left, I don't know, 11 minutes ago or something. Quad cannon cleans up the Chinook in the middle of the map. And, well, this Stinger Sight I don't think will be established as that fuel air bomb blasts through that quad. Fortunately, there's still lots of workers around to make something new. Particle cannon does get activated directly on top of that Scud Storm, and he's going to be hanging out on the corner, getting maybe a couple of the workers as they come to repair it. cleans up the workers, and then the Scud Storm will survive. Second particle cannon 50 seconds away, but it's going to be the fuel air bomb that tries to finish it off, as well as those warthogs. And goodbye to the first Scud. Those toxins polluting the area, as 50 seconds to the next Scud and 30 seconds to the next particle cannon. And this is where BoYcaH may be able to win a war of attrition through the use of those super weapons. And maybe that was his play the whole time. He knew this one was going to be a little bit of a slower game, a little bit of a longer play. We were going to get comfortably past that 15-minute mark instead of deciding the game sort of sub 10 minutes. Humvees here, but also these Alpha Auroras just always waiting. BoYcaH keeping them off the deck for big chunks of this game so that they're always ready. That's another thing that I, as a much lesser player, always forget to do, is keep my stuff off the deck. And it's going to be the Alpha Auroras that take down the Scud. And the particle cannon just there for show. I think he cleaned up the palace as well. He's going to go to War Factory. Nicely burns that down. And now suddenly Reznov has a big, big problem to worry about. Those particle cannons have such short timers. And now that there are 5 of them, it is going to feel like there is constantly a particle cannon ready to go. Leaflets on top of the enemy army. But of course, the enemy army has already pulled way, way back. The defense of BoYcaH is just feeling perfect. It's feeling impenetrable for Reznov. And unlike that first game, he did not have a big advantage early that he could keep pressing and pressing and pressing with. He is unable to crack this defense. Spectre gunship and a particle cannon both being activated. An additional War Factory going down, and it looks like 2 black markets will be sniped. So goodbye to those black markets. Goodbye to that War Factory. Toxin Tractor will be able to clean out these buildings. It looks like barely. Might not get the second one, but he will get the units as they exit. And it's going to be a Tomahawk missile, which cleans up that Toxin Tractor. Called in from this reinforcement point. Okay, I actually did not remember that USA Super Weapon got a Tomahawk missile launcher from the reinforcement point, but there's some units missing from the typical tech tree for that super weapons general, so it kind of makes sense that it would end up being a Tomahawk missile. I guess it could be a Humvee instead. You could get a Humvee. You know, that would be fine. That would actually probably be more useful for most players. More Pathfinders coming out from BoYcaH, and this particle cannon system feels not unbeatable, but close to unbeatable. Palace is going to be getting locked down, eliminated there by the afterburn. No, not eliminated. Okay, so he left maybe a moment too early. The particle cannon does have a little bit of a burn trail that it leaves. And, well, arms dealer is going to be reestablished. Palace did survive, so that's good. And I think that Scud Storm was canceled, not destroyed. So he didn't lose the money on it. He did manage to save it. And Scud Storm over here on the left side of the map. I feel like it's not going to be long for this world. Humvee army all powered up with rockets and with Pathfinders, with those scout drones as well. Alpha Aurora ready to go to town. Particle cannon ready to go as well. Lots and lots of tunnel networks. It's just going to make the going slow. It's not going to totally stop anything. It looks like Jarmankel is inside of that battle bus, or if he's not inside of there, maybe he's inside of this bunker somewhere that he was able to just snipe that unit. Another Tomahawk getting dropped off from that cargo plane. 5 particle cannons ready to go as another one fires off, lands on that palace, and is going for the black market. Maybe won't get there. The afterburn takes it down. The black market goes down. Man, that super weapons general particle cannon is so good. I mean, obviously it's good. It's a purple color, you know, to let you know how extra powerful it is. But Scud Storms have been eliminated all up to this point. The next one is under 2 minutes on the clock. And now we are hitting a pretty full stalemate between these two players. So we did finally get the classic USA versus GLA stalemate. Stinger Sight's going to be coming in again. The delay tactic from Reznov is just give him so mmany targets, give BoYcaH so many targets to shoot at that he will not be able to knock them down. And yeah, that's how you kill a Scud Storm. 2 particle cannons will do it. The first one, not quite enough. The second one is there to finish it off. And okay, that's just a supply drop zone plane. As you got the secondary economy rolling for both players. 4 or 5 supply drop zones at least. More power plants going to be getting added on as that particle cannon in the bottom left comes online. And an additional war factory as well. So it is going to be 2 war factories at least for BoYcaH. Reznov, on the other hand, has just an insane number of buildings and units. His palace in the top right, he's hoping he can keep this one alive. Adds on an additional black market. Both players have a reasonably healthy income, but it immediately gets spotted. Immediately, the palace gets shut down. The black market getting targeted by that Spectre gunship. And it looks like the particle cannon will burn itself out in the top right-hand corner there. But unfortunately for Reznov, he has not been able to gain any real ground. And I mean, the match score is still 1-1, and this one game is taking longer than the 2 previous games combined. So whoever gets the momentum, both players are going to be feeling the taxation of playing this match. Ambo heads right to the front line, gets shut down. Quad cannons being eliminated, and those Alpha Auroras always coming in to save the day as the Dozer gets eliminated there by the quads in the tunnels right on the front line, and the Humvees are going to hope to escape, but it almost doesn't matter because another particle cannon is ready to go, and the scrap gets picked up by those buggies. Going to be trying to clean up these Humvees. Gets another 2 Humvees, so a nice catch there as another particle cannon fires off, catches a black market in the north. And there are just so many particle cannons in this game. I mean, not even just counting the 6 that exist as buildings. There are so many particle cannon uses in this game. And for the current moment, Reznov is not giving up. It feels like he's just going to be slowly bled dry over the course of this game, but he is not giving up as long as he's got those black markets and as long as he's got this wall of defenses that slow down any attack attempt. As long as he's got those things, he always does have a chance of coming back. The black market is coming online, the Scud Storm as well, giving BoYcaH lots of opportunities, lots of... Oh, that quad catch! The rockets and the quads by that Alpha Aurora does mean a huge chunk of Reznov's army just disappeared. He does still have almost 4 grand in the bank. Anthrax drop on top of the Alpha Auroras, gets both of them, gets some missile defenders, maybe even a Dozer as well, but that shuts down that airfield for the next minute or so, and that was a great move by Reznov. He just lost so much to those Alpha Auroras over the course of this game. The air power from BoYcaH has been unmatched and has been excellent, and now the Anthrax completely shuts that down. Okay, I did forget that Humvees, that Ambos, can clear out toxins, so it doesn't totally shut it down. And, well, BoYcaH loses some units. He's going to be able to get himself back online relatively soon, and he should be able to rebuild those Auroras. He definitely will have the cash for it. Pilot gets cleaned up. Particle cannon gets activated back into the top right. I think the Palace, oh no, the Palace, it looks like, got cleaned up just a moment ago by another one. More and more black markets. And with that army going down, additional particle cannon comes up. 2 of them on top of this Scud Storm, cleans up the worker that's nearby, and it's actually going to be a Spectre gunship. So yeah, that particle cannon can head for the barracks, and won't get the burn down on the barracks. Barely. Oh, he does. No, okay. GLA hole still survives. So the barracks will rebuild there for free, and the quads have been rebuilt. So rejoice if you're a GLA fan or a Reznov fan, because he is surviving this insane amount of damage that is coming out from the BoYcaH side of the map. BoYcaH every time he tries to step out with any kind of ground units, there are so many tunnels. There are so many. It's a tunnel surprise in the back of the base. It's going to be on top of the airfield as well. A massive amount of quads, and it's going to be a leaflet on top of them. So to shut down the tunnel will be nice, but he only catches 2 of the quads, and they pop out at the last second. These are sacrificial quads for sure. They're going to be getting shut down, and they're going for the kill on the Alpha Auroras. But ultimately, they will all perish. The quads go down. Reznov has more and more particle cannons to deal with, and the shots just will not stop coming. Arms dealer getting reestablished once again. These war factories will not stick around for very long because the GG comes out, and Reznov will drop. BoYcaH wins 2 in a row, and that will mean he has the momentum. In a 25-minute game, he snatches victory away from Reznov and makes Reznov have to fight uphill for perhaps the rest of this series. But it's a best of 7, so 2 points is not the end of the road by any means. And that takes us to Mountain Mayhem, which I love these paladins on top of those little hills in the middle of the map for some reason. For another non-mirror matchup, playing as the GLA Vanilla, this is BoYcaH. Now up 2-1 against the China Infantry in the bottom right-hand corner. This is Reznov. We almost got to see his command center. Still not quite fast enough, but it's going to be another momentum decider. Reznov starting out this series with a 1-point advantage, and now he needs to win a game just to put himself on even footing with his opponent. Supply truck going hunting for the terrorist, and they did find each other. Sweet kiss of death, and that'll be it for both units. Tunnel network coming out for BoYcaH. We'll see, the last China versus GLA game was quite fast and furious, but of course that was GLA Stealth versus China Tank, so we'll see how this one works out with China Infantry. You got those mini gunners, you got those assault troop crawlers, and in this case, all right, double supply centers on this little group of supplies. This is one of those maps, again, that I have not seen because I don't watch a ton of 0 Hour. But I'm always glad to see new maps, and I'm loving these map choices. Whoever came up with them, if it was ExiLe, if it was the players, I'm loving the map choices coming in here. I feel like every map has a nice design to it. The pathways are reasonably split up. There's lots of points of interest, and I love that there's a map where it apparently makes sense to go double supplies. Like most maps, you don't go double supply, so it's cool that there is a map where you do. No mines around these buildings, which means a little bit of damage was done. The economy is suffering in the Reznov camp because of that. Tunnel network is going to be established here on the right side. BoYcaH sneaking out those tunnels in various places. Reznov going to be striking back with those dragon tanks as per usual. Firewall comes up, but the quads manage to escape it, so they dodge the firewall, which means that the flamer goes down. And the technical picks up the scrap, maybe even takes a little bit of damage there. The battle bus, listening outpost, you know, the Chinese battle bus. Listening outpost does manage to do some damage, but eventually all of those RPG troopers will go down. Bye-bye tank hunters, as unfortunately they will not survive that fight. And the first couple of rockets impacting on the terrain, not actually making it to their final destination, but at least that tunnel network has been spotted. Reznov needs to keep his foot on the gas to take back this game and keep himself out of a match point scenario where he has to come back against a player who's on match point for the rest of this series. Unfortunately, he's starting now with gaining a little bit of momentum by taking out one tunnel network. Unfortunately, it's one tunnel network goes down as another gets established. A couple of RPG troopers going to be making their way out. Barracks and a couple of bunkers have this set of supply trucks nicely walled in. They are protected quite reasonably from assault, at least for the time being. Dragon Tank cleans up this tunnel and that building. We'll try and scare away the worker as well. Minigunners inside of the listening outpost making short work of that tunnel network. And the RPG troopers do get shut down. These bunkers just for the mines here. Okay, never mind. He does actually send a minigunner into one of them, so there is at least some kind of active unit, but I love the idea of you just build the bunker, you get the mines, and then you never put anything inside of the bunker. It's a funny use of a bunker. Palace on the way here, just past the 4-minute mark, and it's going to be supply center in the top right-hand corner for the GLA player. Couple of rebels in the middle of the map. They're going to get caught by these Chinese units as Reznov keeps up his little assault group. This is not a particularly powerful army, but he's at least gotten a little bit of damage done, cleared out a couple of tunnel networks, and limited the GLA players' ability to move around the map easily. And the terrorists get both of those listening outposts. The secondary explosion cleans up a good chunk of those tank hunters as well, but it doesn't stop that flame tank from making its way to the front line, shutting down that Stinger site. And he doesn't shut down the tunnel network, but he does clean up almost every single one of those workers. Quad Cannon cleans up the rest of that attack group, but it's going to be a secondary group on the right side of the map that is maybe able to bust through this front line of defense and actually do some damage to BoYcaH as Reznov is taking the fight right to him. Dragon tank comes through, and it's going to be cleaning up another tunnel network. Reznov stepping into the driver's seat and cleaning up these GLA outposts, these little fortresses that BoYcaH had set up. But I feel like BoYcaH hasn't really footed much of an army, hasn't fielded much of an army for most of this game. He's also going to be getting some free units there. Okay, both players have actually grabbed their transport, their reinforcement pads. And unfortunately, this middle of the map oil derrick is not destined long for this world. Artillery platform going to be grabbed by BoYcaH as well. ECMs hoping to shut down a quad so that they can get a kill there. Minigunners. Oh, no minigunners inside of these listening outposts. Okay, there is a minigunner somewhere. Just didn't make connection with that terrorist at range. Black Lotus going to try and shut down that technical. Does get the lockdown. Artillery platform gets cleared out by the terrorists, and it is going to be a couple of RPG troopers here on the right side of the map making their way into Reznov's territory. BoYcaH has another attack group to deal with, double ECMs, and Jarman Cal manages to get a kill on one ECM very quickly there, but it is going to be a tank hunter that jumps inside and brings him back online. Listening outposts trying to close the distance with that Jarman Cal, and this artillery platform actually being a little bit annoying here. BoYcaH getting some free annoyance against and some distraction against Reznov with that artillery platform. Meanwhile, Black Lotus will take the oil derrick on the right side of the map, and this artillery platform getting a couple of free shots here, just doing a bit of damage to this attack group. ECM's looking to shut down a quad. MiG shows up, cleans up a technical, stops anything from inside of that technical from participating, but it will be one listening outpost that goes down. Meanwhile, Black Lotus is going to take over this artillery platform just in time to clean up a whole group of RPG troopers. And it does look like a mob is out on the field as well. And this artillery platform will be shut down. Bye-bye to the RD platform as that gets cleaned up. And these two RPG troopers given a stop command, and they are just going to be hanging out here. They actually do clean up that listening outpost, but of course the minigunners will make short work of them. MiGs helping to clean up this mob, and, well, the rest of the attack group will clean up the remaining of the members. Oh, that actually might have been the reinforced. Oh, okay, yeah. It was the assault trooper caller on the reinforcement pad, and that is definitely worth it for the China infantry player to get that reinforcement point. That might actually be just a Scorpion tank coming out from our GLA player. Those transport planes flying a long distance to get out of the map. Reznov feeling a little bit sluggish in the first part of this game, but BoYcaH with the 2-point advantage in this series might find himself on even footing once again, and will go out to another momentum shifter game. Black Napalm has been purchased as that Firestorm ignites and burns down the Stinger site. Scud Launcher is out on the map, though. Cleans up a couple of listening outposts right on the edge of range there. And BoYcaH, he's getting quite the army up and out, with Scud Launchers actually making an appearance, which is not something that I feel like we see enough of in 0 Hour. They're fun to watch. I'm not necessarily saying they're good units for players to use, but I am glad when they build them. I do love getting to see them in use. And BoYcaH starting to stretch back out on the map. Lots of tunnel networks. And I think this one minigunner just cleaned up, or maybe finished cleaning up, that Scud Launcher. MiG's coming up. Going to be able to clear out some of this mob. Quad Cannon's going to be looking to get the reveal on, or hoping someone can reveal this Black Lotus. Otherwise, Black Lotus might find herself doing some big damage behind enemy lines. Oil Derrick gets cleaned up, and it's going to be another Assault Troop Crawler out on the field. Dragon Tank here to stop those RPG troopers. Oh, it's that ECM redirecting that Scud Launcher's missile. Always such a funny look for it. Big giant missile suddenly turning almost at a 90-degree angle at the last possible second. Supplies in the bottom left-hand corner have been spotted by BoYcaH. He's going to be going for the kill on the supply trucks, and this is a ton of supply trucks with all of these supply piles here. This is so many supply trucks. And that Black Napalm not really clearing out as many units as he would have liked. Reznov doing almost as much damage to his own units and buildings as he is doing to his enemy. Supply truck gets the kill on both of the RPG troopers, shutting down that attack for now. No super weapons on the field just yet, and very likely we won't see them for a while, if at all. I feel like nukes and scuds are definitely the least common. I guess that just means particle cannons are the most common. And I feel like nukes make a fair appearance, but maybe not so much in this matchup. More reinforcements are always glad to see. Double Helixes out here for Reznov. And once again, air superiority might be the key to victory in these games. Stinger Sight gets cleaned up. All of those RPG troopers inside will not be able to help out in this defense. Double Helix going to be able to jump on all of these tunnel networks and shut down any quad pops, which means they will be able to escape. The quads do show up for defense, but this is opening up an opportunity for Reznov to come in here with a carpet bomb, lands on top of a couple of quads, and everything else gets cleaned up by the Dragons and the Double Helixes. Palace gets jumped on, and a black market is being established, but this is pure mayhem in the top right-hand corner. One Double Helix goes down, and this is an expensive attack for sure, so he wants to get his money's worth, shutting down a ton of tunnel networks. Even the supply stash and a couple of black markets is a nice win here, but is it enough? Infantry get dropped off. Double Helixes are going to try to escape out the side of the map while the infantry stays back to fight the good fight. ECM's shutting down the quad, getting the kill there. Jarman Kell is here, though, and the Double Helix will be able to shut down the Stinger. No, changes target to go for the quad, and the Double Helix goes down. The Stinger survives, but will... Okay, actually, that Scud Launcher survived just fine. I thought for sure that Scud Launcher was going to take way more damage, maybe even go down from the Double Helix, but it took very little damage, if any at all. Oh! Black Lotus gets cleaned up by an ECM redirecting a Scud missile. That Scud missile wasn't even pointed at her, and she gets absolutely wasted by it. Meanwhile, the supply in the bottom left goes down, and Reznov taps out. Okay, so Reznov, after losing that entire army, I didn't think it was game-ending, but he lost certainly a lot, and he just taps out. He says, let's go to the next match, and let's see what happens there. BoYcaH. Okay, BoYcaH gets the win. They're in game number 4 and puts himself into match point position for game number 5, which takes us to the map Summer Arena here for game number 5. And in match point with 3 points on the board, playing as the GLA Stealth, this is BoYcaH. Meanwhile, as the blue, playing as everyone's favorite, the USA Air Force, this is Reznov. All right, USA Air Force, it has a reputation for a reason. And again, I don't know if these matchups were selected beforehand, but if this is a matchup selected out of despair, then Reznov believes that his best chance at starting the comeback and getting another point on the board to keep his hopes alive is going to be this USA Air Force. And, well, it's definitely got a good track record, we'll say that for sure. Dozer drop on top of these supplies. Okay, no, I guess he's just stealing supplies, which is always a funny thing to do. You pause all of your opponent's workers and you steal $600 at a time when they almost certainly don't have anything to stop you. So it's kind of a freebie there in this case. Of course, it is far less efficient than just keeping your Chinooks working on their own supplies, but the point is not to get the most efficient supply gathering possible. It is to annoy your opponents and steal just a little bit of their cash, which I guess if the game goes long enough and there was no secondary economy, then it could in theory come down to these random pickups like this where you steal a couple $100 each time. And, well, the rockets are going to be significantly less effective than they would be at other times. The technical is still able to do a good bit of damage to that Humvee. So at the end of the day, the Chinook will not be able to save the Humvee. This other Humvee now running a little bit too close to that building. Both of these Humvees actually going to be taking some damage. Reznov going to be maybe losing a couple of these Humvees right out of the gate, but his reinforcements may be able to turn this fight around. One Humvee goes down. Okay, so that's not looking good for Reznov. He gave away basically 2 Humvees there in that engagement and didn't get anything back for it. Did manage to, steal some supplies. At the same time, BoYcaH having these tunnel networks set up on the left side of the map, always a nice start. And we will expect some additional tunnel networks to be established on the right side of the map as well. Oil derricks on the far left and far right, one for each player. And then some other oil derricks in the middle of the map as well. So a minimum of 4 oil derricks on this map up for grabs, but a couple of them are... Oh, no! Terrorist technical attack comes in. The War Factory goes down. A huge blow to Reznov. That USA Air Force, I mean, well, there goes the Combat Chinooks. He only built 1 Combat Chinook before the War Factory went down. So goodbye to that plan, if that was indeed his plan. And now more technicals going to be coming in. One more. The terrorists do manage to escape, but they don't get any damage done. Whew. All right. We managed to keep hope alive, but no, the quads pop! And Reznov taps out. And okay, maybe the game wasn't over there, but boy, oh boy, was that a terrible opening for Reznov. A fantastic game number 1 and a pretty good games 2 and 3, but at the end there, even game 4 was good from Reznov. Obviously he didn't win 2, 3, or 4, but man, that game number 5, I understand wanting to leave that game. Unfortunately, that does mean that Reznov will be the first loss of this series, and definitely not the way he wanted to go out. We'll kind of erase that last game from our minds because his performance in the other games was so much better than that, and that was a frustrating one to go out on. But that means that BoYcaH gets the win, and the first win is on the board. Team 1 has 1 point. Our next matchup is going to be in Kane's Wrath. And that takes us to tournament decision for Game 1 of our Kane's Wrath match. Now, of course, if you paid attention to the teams, then you already know who is on BoYcaH's team that's currently up 1-0 and who is on Reznov's team who needs to get a win. But in the north, playing as the green GDI, this is Drive. And in the south, as the Cyan Black Hand, a duel that I always love to see. This is Futurama. Futurama versus Drive, GDI versus Black Hand. Everything is as classic as it could be, pretty much. I guess Tournament Rift would be a more classic map than Decision, but all things considered, I'm excited for this match, and I love the starting map. Tournament Decision, no poker. Always glad to see Tournament Decision in the mix for people. And I do have to have a little bit of a sad announcement. Drive stated that when he signed up for this show match that it would be his last competitive match in Kane's Wrath. Now, I don't know if that's literal or if that... Oh, okay, he's stealing half a load of Tiberium here. So he's calling in half a load of Tiberium so that he can get out that refinery just a little bit faster instead of waiting for the entire harvester to fill up. But I don't know if he meant literally this would be his last competitive match and then he was like uninstalling Kane's Wrath, or if he just meant that he didn't have anything else scheduled, and so this would probably be his last competitive match. This is an R20 match. This is Kane's Wrath 1.02 plus R20. So always glad to see matches on the newest version, since the last couple of things that I casted were on R19 still, even though R20 has been out for a little while. It is sad to see Drive, one of the titans, one of the legends of Kane's Wrath, moving on. But from what he said, it didn't seem like it was any bad blood. It was just he feels like he's moving on to a new stage of life. And the new stage of life that Futurama is moving on to is a double war factory. It's a double refinery, so it's not an all-in. And it's certainly not an all-in with an MCV cell kind of Kane's Black Hand shenanigans that we've seen in the past. But always sad to see a legendary player move on from Kane's Wrath. But of course, real life often calls to us all. And I mean, hey, I'm a guy who took 4.5 years off of the scene, so no, no bad feelings towards Drive. We're gonna miss him. We're gonna miss getting to see his matches. I'm going to miss his legendary combination with Futurama. Just the fantastic pair that they have been. Practice partners with each other. They've given us tons of great matches between the two of them, and also them as 2v2 competitors. But these guys, they've had their fun in tournaments, they've had their runs, and it's going to be Orcas taking down these Scorpion tanks. A bit of an attack coming in here from Futurama, but perhaps an ill-fated one, as these Orcas finished up just in time. Pitbulls, on the other hand, have been able to strike down that Tib spike, so goodbye to that extra bit of income, and the Pitbulls are mostly going to be able to escape. And at the worst, if they're not able to escape, the Orcas will come to rescue them because these Scorpion tanks are out by themselves. Futurama is fighting to make sure that Drive has a failure of a last show match here in Kane's Wrath. I mean, there is a little bit of nostalgia that says Drive should win this because this might be his last competitive match, although he has also stated that he may come back for tournaments from time to time, but he's just not going to be putting the same kind of time into it. He won't be playing in the same number of show matches, and he won't be putting the same efforts into Kane's Wrath from sort of this point going forward. Orca Strike comes in, will tag the Harvester. Futurama did not pull that Harvester at all, but the Harvester did, I was going to say unload on Tiberium, and so he could just go for repairs right away without any real loss to economy. But now he's actually just sending that Harvester back to work, so that Harvester is going to be low on health, maybe getting picked off by an Orca or a Pitbull at some point in the future. Barracks is here, Rockets also coming up, and it is going to be a secret shrine buying those upgrades to get those rocket squads out with some Black Disciples leading the charge. Secret Shrine was the choice for Futurama. It looks like he only got Black Disciples and then sold off that Secret Shrine, but it's going to be double MCV for Drive as we clock past the 5-minute mark, and the Tech Center is going to be enabling Juggernauts, Sonic Emitters, and the Marv. As the Orcas head back out across the map, Drive doing all of this on the extra large main field. All of this is one base effectively, and the Orcas scout the field, see that nothing is there from Futurama, and now I'm a little bit worried for Futurama. Futurama went for a slow eco start. I don't know why, because he hasn't done anything with it, but he deliberately delayed those additional refineries, and well, this is certainly nice because this is 2 Black Disciples here, but they do have the laser fencing to worry about, so it will take them a while to burn down that MCV. Watchtower does get deployed, and well, with that AP ammo, it's going to be able to clean up this infantry squad pretty darn quickly, and the double Black Disciple won't be much of a match for it. The end is here, and this is going to be the beginning of the late game. Shatterer is out as well. Our Raider Buggy comes through for the scout. Could be for the one click. We do have tier 3. The chemical plant could be on the way, but he's going to have some orcas and juggernauts to worry about. Not often do you see orcas attacking buildings, but in this case, Drive just wants to put as much damage onto this MCV as quickly as possible to shut it down. Double barracks does get deployed. There are still 2 war factories back in the main base, which means Futurama can come back, but the GG comes out. Futurama has been defeated, and that was a sad first game. Drive in full control of that match from beginning to end. And that will do it for Game 1. Drive keeping up BoYcaH's record. Win, win, win for team number 1. And we'll see what happens in game number 2. Which takes us to Tournament Airstrip for our second match. And another momentum shifter, potentially, because on the left side, now playing Vanilla Scrin. This is Futurama. Typically that cyan color, and he is keeping it here in this series. Meanwhile, still playing green, this time Rockin' Nod as his faction of choice. This is Drive. And for this show match, I had no restrictions on factions or map choices. I said you guys can play random if you want. You can choose your factions. I don't care. Just get me a show match. And then I also didn't, put any restrictions on maps. So in this particular case, they get to choose whatever they want. They probably went loser picks. They probably agreed on the first map and then went with loser picks after that. So we can assume that this is Futurama's map choice. And if he's chosen his faction and his map, this definitely puts him in a strong position here for game number 2. If you're not super familiar with the Kane's Wrath scene, maybe you're a 0 Hour or a Red Alert 3 fan and you're just here for those matches, well, thank you for watching the matches from the other games. And these two guys are from roughly the same region of the Earth. One is Ukrainian, one is Russian. And these guys have been playing together as long as I have been back in the game casting. So I didn't see these guys, back pre-2016. But since I came back in 2020, I've seen a ton of matches with these guys. They play lots of matches against each other. And I think that's partially because they're in the same time zone or they're close to the same time zone. So they have the same kind of active hours. And then they're close geographically to each other. So the lag and the ping aren't too bad either, as these are things that you have to consider in the modern age of gaming, with Kane's Wrath's network architecture being as old as it is. There's no way to mitigate some of these connection problems. And well, these guys play a lot of matches together. They're very familiar with each other's styles. And I have no idea what their historical record is. They're both very good players, but my feeling is that Drive has a winning record versus Futurama. Now, Futurama has had some amazing performances, especially in the last 6 months with the Winter Championship, doing phenomenally there, and Drive not doing so hot in the Winter Championship. And if you haven't seen those matches, definitely go and check them out. I will I won't say any more spoilers from there. But I will leave that for you to discover for yourself. So Drive, I feel like he has a historical winning record against Futurama, but not necessarily in tournament matches. And in this case, we'll see if this Seeker attack does anything. There's nothing here to defend for Drive, so he's going to have a Harvester to worry about, and there is almost nothing on this half of the map to defend that. Bike's now going to be turning around from the middle of the map, and these Seekers going to be giving chase to that Harvester, but they are deep on enemy territory, and now these Seekers will all go down. There's not really going to be any way for them to escape. With all of these bikes and the buggy, they're just going to have to trade out against these units. Trading targets a little bit here as the Hand of Nod gets built, and okay, not sold off. I thought this was a Hand of Nod for the Ball Crush. you can kill some units or do some damage to some units with that ball from the hand of Nod. But in this case, it's going to be a bit of a distraction as more Seekers roll into the north. Futurama behind this, getting his natural expansion established. 5 grand up in total resources gathered. He has that advantage over Drive, and that's pretty typical for a Scrin player. Operation Center is up. No upgrades just yet, so these Dozer Blades won't be coming into these Scorpions anytime soon. But we do have the Operations Center, and the Descents are coming in. Once again, the natural expansion economy disrupted here, as there is the sell-off of the hand of Nod. Shredder Turret's on the way. Okay, a couple of moments here, and the Shredder Turret will be here. But with those Stealth Harvesters, the Descents don't have a clear target to run at, so they're just denying mining. They're just stopping those Harvesters from being useful, and in the meantime, Futurama is feeling in full control of this game. Once again, we might be starting off with a best of 7 where one player gets a win and then the other player gets the win on game number 2. Harvester taking a ton of damage. Those Descents, you can crush them, but that's a dangerous game to play. And Drive keeps that Harvester alive, full of Tiberium. That guy is going to live to see his family, it seems, and he is going to be all the more grateful for it. More Descents going to be moving out. These aren't fast leg Descents because Futurama just has regular Descents from Scrin, but he is up to tier 3. He is going to be rocking with an Eradicator, Hexapod, and Tripods if he so chooses, or he might just move on and go for that Eco Boom at the 3rd base as well, but he's got the tier 3. He's got the upgrades coming in. Meanwhile, Drive is just getting started at his natural expansion. What a contrast from Game 1 to Game 2. Futurama skipping on his 3rd refinery in his main, delaying his economy, and then here he's got his economy popping. Now Drive did go for the tier 3 as well before powering up his natural expansion, but having so much lost mining time is actually hurting him in this case. That 20k resources difference between these two players, a decent chunk of that is Drive having 2, 3, 4 harvesters offline, having nearly 50% of his harvesting force offline, not gathering anything. And while those attacks are going on, Futurama also stealing that blue Tiberium, increasing his lead by that much more. And with a 20k resources gathered advantage and both players macroing well, keeping their economies near 0, or their bank accounts near 0, it just means that Futurama is in such a good position here in game number 2. He's chewed through his entire main field. He's chewed through more of his natural expansion than Drive has, and he's already set up with 2 harvesters on his 3rd. What a phenomenal opening from Futurama here in game number 2. A fumble in game number 1, slipping and sliding all over the place like a fool. But now in game number 2, he is ready to fight. He is ready to go toe-to-toe. Laser capacitors, a big upgrade here for Drive. It's expensive. It takes a while, but he's finally got it. And these Scorpions in numbers can, of course, go toe-to-toe with those tripods, as long as the tripods don't get too close for the crush. But already we're seeing 7+ tripods out on the field. No Eradicator Hexapod, but 7, 8, maybe even 9 tripods out on the field. As the Redeemer steps out onto the field, I don't even care because Drive has got so many things to worry about. He has got so many angles that he's going to have to cover. And these tripods, basically their one goal is going to be get up close and personal with that Redeemer, lock it down with the EMP, and then deal with everything else. Now, this is a good number of Scorpion tanks, so that isn't going to be easy to just walk in there and take it over, but the stasis is going to be a critical part of this attack, and I imagine the stasis will lock down a big chunk of this army, the tripods will roll in, and it'll be lights out. Futurama's tip spike in the middle of the map does get sniped. Drive 2 games in a row, going to be striking down those tib spikes of his opponent and denying that extra income. And this is where we see things get really out of hand. When you've got the Tripod Army, the Seeker Gunwalker Army, and the Descent Army all mixing and matching, making just an impossible problem for your opponent to deal with. Oh, and then he's going to add into that Storm Riders or Devastator warships. It's going to be the Dev warships. Everything has tripods. For a little while, Futurama's army wasn't looking super big, but but that's partially because he was spending part of the 20 grand of advantage that he has on upgrades. He got those upgrades out early, and Drive never had an attack on the left side of the map, or virtually never had an attack on the left side of the map, meaning that Futurama was able to focus on those upgrades, focus on that tech very early on. Now he's just got a huge advantage. His army is so good. It is so big. He's got that stasis in his back pocket. We should see Futurama start climbing up in his resources. He's going to want to keep a couple of grand in the bank. He maybe even just canceled or sold something. So he's got nearly 4 grand. He is ready to go. Rage Gen fires off. It might have actually been a little bit premature, a little bit early here, as a double stealth tower comes in as well. That is going to be critical, and there's going to be the stasis, locking down a Harvester as well as the Redeemer and that Avatar. Meanwhile, on the north side, Scorpions are going to be absolutely trashing the main base of Futurama, and Futurama is going to destroy Drive. There is no contest here on the bottom right-hand corner of the map. Drive is going to be annihilated, and Futurama is going to be taking some damage back at home, but ultimately, it won't be enough to stop this. There's the EMP on the Redeemer. Good night, baby, as that guy goes down, and the paltry defense is nothing against all this scrin. Wouldn't you believe it that the advanced aliens with their super laser armies are the ones winning this fight? Let's take a look back over to the Scorpion tank side of the map. It looks like they're rolling through the natural expansion. All of the tech has been annihilated, but in the case of the base trade, I give the advantage to the guy who can fly with his MCV versus the army that doesn't shoot up. Futurama says it's not 1-0, it's 1-1. We're even Steven, baby, and he's crushing Harvesters by accident as he pulls through the natural expansion of Drive. Absolute decimation, desecration in the homeland as Drive gets annihilated. His Scorpion tank army is powerful, but as long as that MCV survives, as long as that MCV escapes and floats away, Drive has no chance. The GG comes out, and it's 1-1 with Drive and Futurama. Okay. We have got 2 series in a row, and we do not have a clean sweep in either one. A great start here for this show match. Drive killing it in game number 1, but Futurama taking control back in game number 2. And game 3 sends us to the map Tiberian Pantanal for our momentum shifter. A true even match. Everyone's warmed up, everyone's had a minute to figure out what's going on, and they have also chosen to mix up their factions. Our first mirror matchup as the Cyan GDI. This is Futurama. Meanwhile, as the green, kicking it also as the GDI, this is Drive. GDI versus Blackhand, Scrin versus Nod. But now we've got ourselves a mirror matchup, and we get to see how they handle when everything is equal. One of the newer maps in the pool. Glad to see this one getting some more playtime. Curious to see what other maps show up in this series. You know, our first 2 maps, pretty standard. I feel like Tournament Airstrip, we've seen that one, of course, quite a bit in the last couple of years. It's a good map. And then Tournament Decision, that's a classic. I mean, I guess it's technically the no poker variant of it. But Tournament Decision we have seen since the game launched, so that one's everyone's super familiar with. This map, a little bit different. You do have the natural expansions followed up by a contested third field, but kind of the difference between a lot of the other maps that have that is this guy has 2 blue fields. So they are, you know, I'm sure slow growth. They start with nothing, so there is not a big advantage early on, but those 2 blue fields could absolutely help sustain a player if they are not able to grab the third in the bottom right. By the way, EMP Control Center in the corner. Some other capturable buildings spread out throughout the map. This might just be a 1 tip spike kind of map. I do appreciate that Futurama has gone with the early foxhole in the middle. And given that this is GDI mirrors, I'm not necessarily expecting anything too crazy early game. I guess kind of the most aggressive thing that I would expect is if someone went double airfield off of the natural. You know, before you get your natural refineries, you drop the command post, you drop the double airfield. That's always a possibility with GDI players. I don't know that it's likely, but it's always a possibility. You know, always got to keep that in the back of your mind. For now, Drive was the one who went pretty early on to the blue. He did escape with a full load of blue Tiberium, so he brought the pit bulls along to make sure that his harvester would be safe. Futurama, I don't think, has grabbed any of the blue Tiberium, despite the fact that he did grab the foxhole and the garrison, so he had eyes on the blue Tiberium. He just wasn't necessarily going for that. And on the Futurama side of the things, it looks like, you know, just gunning for that eco play. It is macro-oriented openers for both players. We could have a tech switch now that the natural expansion refineries are up, but for now, things are looking absolutely standard. After a little bit of a weird build from Futurama in game number 1, and a little bit of a misstep by Drive in game number 2, it is kind of nice to see both players going macro, playing standard, no goofy cheeseball stuff here. It is straight through the front door, and the scouting has been good enough from each player. They have not necessarily done full scouts, but they have poked and prodded. They have gotten little sights of their opponent's bases all throughout the match, and so they have sort of been keeping each other honest. They've been confirming what the other player is doing, and they know that it is a very standard big pit bull early game GDI mirror. A little bit of a pit bull tussle. Drive, he set up these annoying foxholes. You know, the riflemen aren't really expected to kill anything, but you just put that extra bit of damage out around the map on your opponents. I love this. Okay. And the scan comes in real quick. What does Futurama actually see here? Okay, so he saw at least one of the barracks, and he does see with his vision elsewhere on the map, he does see some of the buildup of rocket squads. So Futurama has an idea that this is here. AP ammo approaching 50% done, so it should be finished up by the time this army actually steps out onto the other side of the map. Command post is here as well for Drive. Okay, down there, and he did go one airfield for support, so AP ammo almost the exact same timing for both players, and Pitbull's coming in from Futurama. He will, I think, spot these hammerheads just about as soon as they get sent in. Infantry getting called in, Drive spending almost every single dollar that he's got, and what is going on here? That's a little bit of a different skin that we have for these reinforcements. I'm guessing that's an R20 change, or that might be a Master Leaf 4K texture pack change, where either veteran units get different clothes, or maybe reinforcements that you call in get different clothes. I don't know if that's a good difference, but it's kind of an interesting choice to have. AP ammo is done, but so is this sonic emitter, and Drive steps forward, and Drive gets spanked as he gets sent running right as the Reclamator hub comes online. Armory has been added on, and Futurama might have some upgraded infantry to deal with in a few moments, but he's going to have a Marv to help him deal with it all. Orca Strike comes in. Futurama doesn't need to dodge anything, because nothing happens with that Orca Strike. APC, couple of riflemen, couple of rockets, couple of Preds going to be taking a shot at these harvesters on the north side, and that is a safety AA battery for sure. I don't know if he's trying to ward off Firehawks or what, but that was maybe even just a panic placement as he placed down whatever he had building right in the face of those units. Drive trying to split the map, trying to create a little bit of chaos and create a little bit of an opportunity for himself to get some damage done. Maybe even one engineer getting sniped there, as those sniper teams maybe got a couple of lucky shots. Pitbulls are going to be defending against this army. The mortars helping them deal with those units on the ground, but the Predator tanks are not so easily kept at bay. You're going to need some better firepower to deal with those Preds. Meanwhile, that rifleman is still attacking that little tib spike down there. Futurama is going to have to deal with that eventually, but it seems like the time is not yet. Drive doing a bit of damage, but also just losing these units, buying himself some time as he prepares for the next phase of this attack. Calls in more reinforcements. Hammerheads looking for an opening, looking for an opportunity. Might be able to jump on some of these power plants to knock down the power of Futurama, and Drive's couple of Predator tanks survived so long. These Pitbull mortars not hitting as he would like. Futurama not really being able to clean up that army very quickly at all. Meanwhile, Marv, MCV, and Juggernauts are all here. Drive has some difficulties to deal with. Love this sonic emitter placement, getting the splash damage on the Juggernaut, on the Marv as well. As Futurama moves on forward, he's the only one with a Marv out on the field, and the Juggernauts taking aim at each other. Zone Troopers getting called in as the Firehawks are hoping to find some targets to level the playing field, and it's still 4 Juggernauts here for Futurama, but Drive finally has his own Marv out on the field just as Futurama's Marv explodes in a fiery shot from those Jugs, and the Marv is heading to the bottom right-hand corner, which means Drive just wants to hold on in the north. He just wants to keep Futurama at bay with his multi-MCV player. Maybe this is only single MCV, but he's going to have that Marv in the bottom right to fuel his economy for the late parts of this game. And meanwhile, Futurama doesn't have a late game play as these 2 Shatterers bust through the front line. What? Drive, what is this? How do you even do that? Is that even allowed? How do you sneak 2 Shatterers into your opponent's base like that? I don't remember the 2 Shatterer hit squad being a build. And yet, here it is, a couple of Predator tanks as well. 4 Predator tanks and 2 Shatterers to completely cut off the natural expansion of Futurama. And Futurama is going for the base trade, even getting a little bit of a rank up on that Pitbull as Drive abandons ship and just goes for the bottom right-hand corner of the map. Where is his MCV? There it is. It was a multi-MCV play, and I don't think he took too much of that field into his Marv, but he does have the hope of getting the kill on this MCV as his Firehawks blast through, and no, Futurama! What? Futurama has been defeated. I guess he felt his legs being kicked out from underneath him. That counterattack from Drive, the Predator tanks and the Shatterers, absolutely key in taking the wind out of the sails for Futurama, and the Marv turning north, heading to that main base. It put a clock on Futurama, but I thought Futurama was going to be able to keep things moving forward. Drive has won the momentum game. Futurama takes the L as Drive advances his score 2-1. Which takes us to the ever-present Tournament Highlands. There is no rule of the game that says we have to play a match on this map, but it pretty much always happens. This time, switching it up to Blackhand, this is Drive. And deciding to stick with GDI for the next match, this is Futurama. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Well, unless it's GDI, in this case, even if it's broke, don't fix it. As Futurama takes a loss with GDI, but decides to keep GDI for the next map. Tournament Highlands, once again, I would assume, is Futurama's map choice. And just like game number 1 led into game number 2, I would suspect that Futurama has some kind of a plan. Maybe he just went with Airstrip and Highlands because they are comfort choices. And it's like, all right, these are maps that I know super well. I don't have to think about them. I can just play my normal game. You know, no nerves, no worried about not knowing the map. You got a map that you're very comfortable with, and you can just play a game against your old buddy, your old pal, Drive. And in this case, we'll see if he's able to make something happen with GDI. It could just be, I'm going to go for the late game. We're going to play this one out until I've got a Marv, Juggernauts, and Sonic Emitters. What? He got an upgraded power plant. And did he get a flame tank somewhere? He maybe snuck a flame tank out on the map, but he may have gotten that operations center for a Black Hand Squad? Was that a misclick from Drive? Maybe he really just wanted the Black Hand Squad to kill off these 2 Tib spikes and to get the upgraded power plant, but If so, that's a little bit silly. Futurama's MCV getting slightly delayed. A little bit of a hiccup on that harvester. I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop. I feel like there has to be a flame tank somewhere, or maybe he felt like he got spotted, so the best play was to sell it off and to not go for the flame rush because that's the fake out. Bikes coming out here for Drive, and yeah, Futurama is going to be losing this tib spike. So Drive got that operation center. He didn't get a flame tank. He didn't get a Reckoner, but he did get a Black Hand unit from selling it off. He got double War Factory on the main. All right, he's cleaned up the scouts of Futurama. His MCV is, in theory, headed for that natural expansion, but it's currently paused. Okay, it's finally back to work. It is moving, and Futurama is going to have a ton of firepower heading his way. He did not predict this. He's got a refinery online right now. Fortunately, the bikes and the buggies are just hanging around in the midfield, keeping an eye on these pit bulls, and Futurama is going to be losing both of these tip spikes. Not really anything he can do about that, but he does have enough time to respond to this attack. Oh, he sells off that watchtower. I don't think he realizes how much pain is about to come his way. Otherwise, he might not have sold off that watchtower. He might have kept that extra little bit of DPS. Bikes are going to be able to burst down that harvester. As good night to the harvester is what Drive says. And the pit bulls are going to just trade out against the attack bikes and the buggies. Next, focus firing from Drive, cleaning up those low health pit bulls. But the first Predator tank is now out, so we'll see if Futurama is able to stop this attack. He hasn't taken too much damage just yet, and he's traded well enough against the attack bikes and the buggies that he isn't too worried about that exchange. I feel like that was even enough. 3-4 bikes went down, one harvester got eliminated, and maybe a pit bull or two got eliminated as well. So Drive is probably going to be feeling good, but it was right on the edge of being a disaster for Drive where he didn't get his money's worth. But he did get that harvester, and he got it right away, and he didn't lose everything. So he still has a couple of forces back at home, getting some repairs, maybe even getting ready for a round 2, a second trip to the future Funland. Unfortunately, Drive sending that harvester to the bottom side and then not getting any Tiberium with it. Power plant getting targeted down. This Black Hand squad was never dealt with by Futurama, and now he's going to have to draft a watchtower. I don't think he even has any APCs out on the field, but he does have a watchtower. He might even lose this. He might have to pull a harvester. The Black Hand squad just goes for the power plant. They're now going to be going for the watchtower. If he has to draft his second watchtower, it gets really annoying to deal with this, but that'll do it for that watchtower. Drive versus Futurama. Sometimes it is a very even game, and sometimes someone sneaks a single Black Hand squad through and is able to just kill off a couple of power plants after killing off a couple of tip spikes. And Drive is going to be really happy with this opening. He's up 1 point against his opponent, and he gets the tip spikes, he gets the harvester, and now he gets double power plant and the watchtower. So this is a phenomenal opening for Drive. Futurama absolutely can still turn this around. A couple of Scorpion tanks going to be going for the kill on that harvester, but there's Predators here to make sure that that doesn't happen. 5 Predators are more than enough to deal with these Scorpions. Meanwhile, the bike buggy hasn't been able to do too much damage on the other fronts. Airfield does get spotted as well. Drive continuing to keep himself appraised of everything that Futurama is doing. A couple of pit bulls getting cleaned up. These bike buggies, if they choose to, they could burst down 1, maybe 2 harvesters before the Predator tanks are able to deal with them. And this operations center seems to work out pretty well. That one Black Hand squad really did pay for itself, and now the bike buggy going to be coming in here for the attack. Predator tanks are slow to fire, which means that decoy army does a decent job of keeping the rest of the army alive. Hammerhead goes down almost as quickly as it was born into this world. It is eliminated as these Predator tanks now find themselves outgunned with all of these rockets that are on the front line. And Futurama, he is just dealing with the chaos loses another harvester. He sells off that refinery, which is okay. That refinery wasn't essential for the rest of the game anyways. But you lose that, and then behind this, Drive is building more and more. He's going up to Tier 3. He hasn't gone multi-MCV yet. No, he has. Never mind. Things are looking worse. And now I am worried for Futurama as this flame tank once again just sneaks through the enemy lines. And Drive, what is it with these random units who seem to be so adept at sneaking through weird spots? It was the Shatterers in the last game, flame tanks in that series he played with Rex against Bike and Space. Drive just has an ability to get all sorts of units, all sorts of places, and he says no to the third base. He does drop the Redeemer Engineering Facility, so he's not totally saying no to the third base, but he is going to be deploying Annapolis, gets one shot against the Juggernaut, doesn't land the second shot, and it's going to be up to these rocket squads to try and hold off the front line and keep this GDI player at bay until the Redeemer arrives. Drive says it is do or die, and I can walk up this hill, shred her turrets with supercharged particle beams, and an obelisk here for support as the bikes go for the harvesters. A couple of these harvesters full on Tiberium. Futurama does not want to be losing them this late in the game when he has so little cash in the bank, and he's already struggling against what Drive is throwing at him. Losing the harvesters is the end of the game as Futurama takes the L here in game number 4, and Drive puts himself in a match point scenario for the rest of the series. Drive looking good in some of these games, and Futurama still has power in him, but it's just not working out. Which takes us to the map Desert Field for game number 5. In the north, as the Cyan Zocom, this is Futurama. What a mad lad on his last legs in this series, and he goes Zocom, which is, hey, I am excited to see. I certainly hope he takes this game, and not just because I always love to see the ace match. I always want to see as many games as possible, but also because, you know, I like seeing a Zocom win. In the south plane, the green plane, vanilla GDI, it's Drive in full control here in perhaps his last competitive series, possibly of the year, possibly of all time, although hopefully not. Hopefully we do see him a couple of more times in the future, even if it's not as many games as we've gotten to enjoy in the last couple of years. I'm so curious as to why Futurama went with Zocom. Maybe he has something sneaky up his sleeve, or maybe he just wanted to try out Zocom on this map. At any rate, if Drive wins this series, then that means that Team 1 wins the show match overall. They all get a bonus $25 for their team, and you know, it kind of is weird that Zugspitze could lose his series and he'll get a payout before he's even played it, but that is how this particular series goes. And of course, Zugspitze wins, then he gets the full 75, but if Drive starts losing here, then it's going to be Futurama's team that takes the win and gives us a decider for Red Alert 3. And what is this? Drive, what is this? Foxholes just peppering that MCV. Absolutely silly town here, as this MCV has taken, you know, 10-20% damage off of these foxholes, and Futurama has to clear out these foxholes one at a time, which these are all the prime refinery locations on your natural expansion. So it is a short walk to your natural expansion, but not when Drive is out here just annoying you to death. And also, why is Drive's MCV in the middle of the map? Futurama deploys a refinery, but that is in a subpar position. That is not the refinery location that he would like, and this is certainly disrupting him. It may not be the end of the world having to drive this extra distance, but when you're already down in a series and you spot your enemy's MCV in the middle and they've dropped a War Factory, you don't want this to also be something that you're worried about. And now suddenly Drive says, let's go, let's go, let's go. This game is going to be ending quickly, and we either move on to the next one or I'm done, and I win in a 4-1 score. And Futurama is going to have to absolutely bring the power here. His defense is going to have to be close to perfect, but he's the one with a natural expansion. He's the one with the plan for the future, and Drive just has to keep up the pressure and keep up the damage. Defender's advantage is on the side of Futurama, but that isn't much when Drive has already deployed a War Factory there, a proxy War Factory in the middle of the map. This suddenly Defender's advantage means very little, as both of these guys have similar numbers of Preds, similar production right here on the front line, and Drive is going to be gutting his main base to make this happen. Guardian Cannon comes in from Futurama. It'll absorb a couple of shots here, but Futurama's Predators are the things that he really cares about, and Drive just has more of them. Harvester is here, but Futurama may not be able to keep that guy alive for very much longer, and Drive is coming in here with a brutal build in Game 5. It's not over, but it's looking like it's over as Drive keeps up the pressure. Infantry being added into the mix. Watchtowers going toe-to-toe with these Guardian Cannons, and Futurama running out of steam, running out of units. It's only Watchtowers getting added into the fight, and this Harvester still working away, hoping that Futurama can live to fight another day, but another Predator tank pops on out. It's now 6-2 for Drive versus Futurama. Watchtowers in Drive's favor. Predator tanks in Drive's favor. Everything in Drive's favor as the scoreboard is reflecting this game as well. Drive crushing Futurama. GG gets called, and that is it. Sheesh. Going full aggro mode as Drive takes no breaths from one game to the next. He just keeps on hitting, and Futurama just couldn't take it. Game number 2, Futurama looked alive, but everything else, Drive was running over him. And that is it for Kane's Wrath. Drive wins himself $50, and alongside BoYcaH secures the $25 bonus for his team. The only question is who wins the Red Alert 3 show match. And that will send us to Industrial Strength for game number 1. One final best of 7 to see where everything shakes out. And already in a good spot. He's going to be feeling good about this whole series. This is the blue. This is Zugspitze. He's playing Empire, and he is representing, after a while of not seeing him. In the South, however, someone who has become a bit of a fan favorite, pretty much always fun to see. This is DutchArmy. Someone that we have gotten to see on this channel over the last couple of years get better and better and better. And hopefully today he rises even higher. Zugspitze coming back to Red Alert 3 for just a minute. Going to be showing us some more of his Empire play. Always a pleasure to see this guy. And, you know, it struggled a long time with his name, how to pronounce it, how to try and say it right. And you guys in the comments have helped me out tremendously trying to nail down that pronunciation. Not that production. That wouldn't make much sense. But I'm glad also to see Industrial Strength here on game number 1. I gave these guys, once again, no restrictions on map choices. I kind of assumed it would be Industrial Infinity Isle right out of the gate, but we got Industrial Strength, and I am glad to see that. Now, as you guys know, if you have watched the whole series, I guess if you skipped to the Red Alert 3 part because you didn't care about 0 Hour Kane's Wrath, then you don't know. But Zugspitze is already up in $25. He has already got that money claimed to his name because his team has won with so far a 2-0, and DutchArmy is just here to win $50 for himself and to potentially keep that score from being a 3-1. 3-0. So unfortunately for DutchArmy, he does not get the bonus because his teammates in Zero and Kane's Wrath were unable to keep things alive. And, you know, of course, if I had known the outcomes, I definitely would have made it so that this third match was the deciding one. But as it is, I guess in the edit, I could rearrange them. I could make it go 0 hour and then Red Alert 3. Well, actually, depending on how this turns out, it may not even matter. So we shall see. But it might be a 2-1 for our one team, or it might be a 3-0. Anything is possible, except, of course, a win for DutchArmy's team. So sad, but hopefully we'll get to see this format return in the future. And hopefully this Imperial Warrior will be cleaned out. Okay, there we go. Imperial Warrior gets cleaned up. Third refinery going to be coming along for DutchArmy. Of course, Zugspitze already has his third ref up and running. He did this nice reposition of the MCV, and he goes pretty much straight into Tier 2. Maybe he got out a Tengu or two, but he really has not got out much in terms of vehicles up to this point in the game. Maybe he did manage to sneak out a Tengu, but I'm not even seeing it on the mini-map, so I'm going to guess that that is a straight to Tier 2, which feels a little bit risky. I feel like more often than not, if you're a straight to Tier 2 Empire player, it doesn't go well for you. But in this case, you know, he does have that third to keep himself safe, and he's got good control. Oh, the Apollo found the angle. The Apollo found the perfect angle. DutchArmy dodging and weaving. A great little exchange there. Pretty much the right decisions made at every step of the way for both players, but DutchArmy was able to find that angle and keep, with his 2 Apollos, his kill streak alive. Gets the kill on that striker, makes it 3 strikers instead of 4, and the oil derrick should go down. A nice catch there for Zugspitze, but other than that, not a lot of value for him around the map. No engineer inside of that IFV. I thought it was going to be an engineer drop at the middle of the map, but actually this is just an IFV that is hunting these strikers. Once the strikers take out the IFV, it's an easy transform to chase away those Apollos. 1 Apollo goes down, the second does manage to escape. And I mean, yeah, the IFV can kill these strikers, but it's going to take a long time for 1 IFV to kill 4 strikers on the ground. That's just not what they were designed to do. Tsunami Tank will get jumped on there. Vindicators finding the opportune moment, and the way the terrain works on this map means Zugspitze did not have much of an opportunity to make any recompense for that. He was not able to bring any fire to those Vindicators on their way home. All right, we've seen in the past Zugspitze cut up his opponent's armies with walls. We'll see if that's about to happen here. Jabs inside of those IFVs mean that they do actually snipe units pretty darn quickly here, and this could be a bit of a trap as the Tsunami Tanks take the first round of shots. Vindicator's going to be coming in here, maybe to cut off the reinforcements, maybe to cut off the escape, but either way, the Vindicators will pay the price. 1 down, the second will take a lot of damage, even goes down on the deck, and Zugspitze finding some damage finally in the heart of DutchArmy's base. But of course, this is not the end for DutchArmy, but it might be the end of his main base. He has been broken open, and we'll see if his IFVs, powered up with their javelins as they are, if they're able to hold the ground. This Guardian tank is going to be a bit of a help with that. Sniping the power plants, I love that move. It means those multi-gunner turrets won't be a factor in this fight. Jabs do eject out. They get an extra couple of shots, and the Guardian does survive a little bit longer as those strikers change their targets, change their mind on who they're going to kill, and now Zugspitze has been routed. He does have a little bit of strength left. He was able to, no, he wasn't able to snipe that power plant. It survives with like 20% health, and he really did want to get that kill, but DutchArmy manages to find a little bit of strength to pull together the defense. Ooh, that striker very low on health. Maybe even just going to sacrifice it as these IFVs come up. The Apollo should be able to get that last shot. IFVs fire a couple of shots, but Barracks doesn't go down. Oil derrick about to be captured by Zugspitze. This is a great transition for Zugspitze to steal that oil derrick away, but I feel like the 4th base is where things are really going to turn around. It looks like DutchArmy just placed his down, and that is where I get a bit concerned. If Zugspitze had killed one of the refineries, or, I mean, even the airfield would have been a nice kill, but really one of the refineries in the main base, then okay. We're definitely in a comfortable spot for Zugspitze, but he didn't get the power plant, he didn't get the airfield, he didn't get the barracks, he didn't get the refinery, and now a fourth ref is up and running for DutchArmy. This is where I get worried for the Empire player, is this 4v3 situation. DutchArmy can go, well, I'm assuming, I guess he can't go cryocopters. I was going to say he can go cryocopters, but I guess he does need to reposition that airfield to be able to go for cryocopters, or, you know, get a command post, something over there to upgrade that airfield. But he's in the place where he can go for cryocopters. Tanks moving in. Tank Buster's going to be on the front line. Disengaged for both players. DutchArmy is in a place where he can go for those cryocopters. He's going to have the economic advantage. I mean, he no longer has the garage, which is a nice kill for Zugspitze. But he has the economic advantage. He's got the tech. Ooh. Okay, the Apollo does spot that refinery coming out just in time. So DutchArmy knows where the stakes are in this game. But overall, I'm much more comfortable with DutchArmy since that attack by Zugspitze was not able to do as much damage. Building's going to be buying a little bit of time. Tsunami tanks are in good numbers. This is a healthy tsunami tank count. And Zugspitze, if he knew about that expansion out on the water, he may have just tried to go for that directly. Maybe with one striker or two strikers, maybe with a couple of tsunami tanks. He probably wouldn't have been playing so much around this midfield. He probably would have been trying to kill off this harvester or the refinery entirely. But at the current moment, he's focused on the fight in the mid-ground. Zugspitze gets his fourth up, and at the same time, he scouts the fourth of DutchArmy. And all right, DutchArmy is starting to be punished here. I mean, overall, DutchArmy is still just the slightest bit ahead on income, on total resources gathered by comparison. Tanks backing off. Once again, we're getting this almost big tank fight, but it just keeps not happening. One Guardian goes down, second will be eliminated, and the third is going to be taking some hits, but all three of the strikers go down. If that refinery had gone down, okay, it's a clearer win for Zugspitze, but he only got the Harvester, and then he trades out Guardians for IFVs, and that's a trade that usually the allied player is going to be comfortable with taking. Those strikers were the only anti-air for Zugspitze. All right, claims an IFV, not a bad kill, but the only anti-air for Zugspitze. And then he loses the Harvester as well. So in every turn, it feels like DutchArmy is on the brink of taking some serious damage, and then it just doesn't happen. The main base attack, the dance around the middle, even, I mean, Zugspitze was able to mitigate this garage, but even these little dances around the middle have been null and void, or, you know, okay for DutchArmy. And then these last exchanges, it feels like, have been working well for DutchArmy. Cryo shot on top of the infantry, only going to be capturing a couple of them, but it's going to be cutting off this building for more reinforcements. A couple of Guardians going to be going down, and that's some fully heroic tank busters inside. That's a bit of a mistake for DutchArmy, but we'll see if Zugspitze can close the game out, or if he will just be trading once again. Tsunami tanks pushing forward. Cryocopters getting the freeze. That's 3 tsunami tanks down and out. A couple of more getting shrunk down. Not much effect being done by these tsunami tanks. More and more of them are getting frozen. The Guardian tank numbers are low as well, but the cryocopters have no answer. No Tengus, no Striker. This is an Empire player who has no anti-air and is still fully committed into this attack. It can only end poorly for Zugspitze. Sends in the last couple of units. The tsunami tank rolls up, and that has to be the end of the game for Zugspitze. It feels like a fine attack in concept, but no anti-air at all, and those cryocopter numbers just grew and grew and grew. And now the total resources gathered, it technically favors Zugspitze. But before that engagement, they're looking at, like, I don't know, equal value on the field. And after that engagement, it is just a cliff for Zugspitze. That was a phenomenally bad engagement for Zugspitze, and it pretty much all comes down to no anti-air. You can make the argument that he probably felt forced into that situation, like he had to make something happen right then, right there, because he lost all of those strikers earlier and he never rebuilt them. He may have felt very much pressured into that situation. And just the longer these cryocopters are here, okay, well now we got 5 Tengus out on the field. That's great, 5-6 Tengus, phenomenal. But the GG comes out. Zugspitze has been defeated, and it all came down to no anti-air. You can hate cryocopters as much as you want, but, you know, if you don't have anti-air, they're way more effective than if you do. And here we've got DutchArmy, a very, very slight lead in the economy early on, and then it just evens up. But the thing that actually mattered was that anti-air. And that'll do it for game number 1. DutchArmy is looking good. He hasn't earned his cash yet, but we'll see what happens in game number 2. Which will take us to Battle Base Beta for another EVA. The colors are staying the same in the north, playing the Blue Empire. This is Zugspitze. He is down 0-1 against this guy in the south, who needs to keep up the winning if he wants to bring this best of 7 home for his team. This is DutchArmy, which is the one name that Sybert, my kiddo, when he is casting his own games, he will say, "This is Sybert signing in," and here we have DutchArmy, and that's kind of how he says it. But then he never does the second player introduction. He only ever introduces one player, and he'll sign in, and then he'll say something about DutchArmy. And I think he doesn't even say the map name, so yeah, we'll work on it. He's not quite up to standard just yet. Lovely crush of that jab. Just sneaks in there with a dojo core. That's an adorable dojo core. You know, the game is not won or lost by that one javelin trooper, but that was a cute little kill of a jav. Just $300 down the drain. So yeah, Sybert, when he casts games, for whatever reason, DutchArmy is the name that he has attached to. And I don't know why that is, because I feel like if there was, it's like not the shortest name. It has a bunch of syllables in it. I guess not so much the way. I guess it's not that many syllables. Maybe I'm overstating syllables. Anyways, DutchArmy feeling good after game number 1. It's a best of 7. It can always turn around. I mean, you know, if we get to 3 games, it's pretty comfortable for DutchArmy. But Zugspitze has had some amazing series in the past, and of course he has turned around some series and gone toe-to-toe with the best in Red Alert 3. And we'll see how he does on Battle Base Beta. Industrial Strength comes out ahead for DutchArmy. Battle Base Beta, pretty even split map, and of course we do still have Infinity Isle to hang on to as well. So if things go poorly here for Zugspitze, we still have Infinity Isle. You know, I guess he could go Commander Republic or Temple Prime as well. But, you know, we got some maps still to choose from that are pretty good. A couple of Riptides, and DutchArmy, he's not going for a fast third. When the Empire player does this, I guess you could go out to the water for a fast third, but you just can't go for a fast third when the Empire player goes for this kind of an opening. Interestingly, he does deploy the multi-gunner turret in the middle of the map, so he is going for that little bit of base clearing, or middle of the map clearing. He wants to kind of secure all of his edges, even gets this Civ structure here, so that's actually kind of nice with the oil derrick down to a quarter health and only Tengus here on the front line for this Empire player. I mean, it's going to take a little longer to break down that oil derrick, but eventually, if that building is not cleared, it'll happen. 5-6 Tengus and no tier 2. This is the modification from Industrial Strength to Battle Base Beta that is being made. Oh, that was cute. That was cute by Zugspitze. He saw which one of the tank busters was being shot up by the Riptide, and he tried to sneak the other one out to go for the building, which would have been nice, but it didn't quite work. Cute little micro moves coming out from Zugspitze. DutchArmy cleans up the oil derrick. Zugspitze sees that there is no water expansion, and he was really hoping that there would be. Oh, he's going to be able to get a camp on this base. He's going to be able to get a couple of jabs. He actually goes for the transform on basically all of the units. One last Tengu does finally transform. I was like, I'm not sure that it's wise to leave one Tengu versus 3 Apollos, but a good kill. This Vindicator is going to have to get off the deck. Okay, just in time. DutchArmy almost making some mistakes there, but he cleans it up in the end. And yeah, losing the jabs is sad. Losing the Riptide is sad. They've kind of done their job. And oh, this Vindicator is so close. Just buying a little bit of time if that's intentional. And second airfield does get deployed, so this power plant should go down. And these Vindicators are eventually... Oh, this one Vindicator's still getting harassed. I was going to say he's going to get back up to full health, but he can't. And Tengu's transformed. They get the kill on the Vindicator, but he trades out 2 Tengus to do it, and suddenly the Tengu numbers are not looking very good for Zugspitze. He might be going tier 2 right now. At the same time, he is getting that 3rd refinery, so the timing is going to be a little bit later. Power plant gets eliminated, but it's now a double airfield allied player. Powered up on 3 refineries plus an oil derrick, and he's going to be able to hunt and kill these Tengus. So this Tengu harass went from looking pretty good to looking not good in just 30 seconds or so. And these Tengus, when the Apollos are on Overwatch, basically can't escape. This guy is going to try and do a little bit of damage to that Harvester. And yeah, I think that's all 6 of the Tengus. Maybe one of them escaped, but at least 5 of the Tengus got cleaned up of those original 6. And once again, we have a tier 2 Empire player. It's going to be behind slightly on economy, possibly for the rest of the game just because of that oil derrick, but it's certainly behind on the 3rd base timing. Apollo! Apollo escapes! Are you kidding me? 10% health, maybe even less. But the anti-air was the weak point for Zugspitze. He was doing fine in many of the other categories. Maybe not great, because a couple of those attacks came close to doing big damage and they just never landed. But Harvester gets pulled off. Nice dodge. So they're going to drop their bombs and they're going to be along their way. A little bit of lost mining time. Not a bad trade there for Zugspitze. Obviously not what he wants. I love this. Okay, it's not a proxy. I was going to say what is going to become a proxy naval yard, and then it wasn't. But it's faster cryocopters, and this is at the perfect time. This is the worst timing for Zugspitze. DutchArmy got so lucky with that cryocopter showing up just at this moment, pre the Defender Core actually unpacking. And now even when it does unpack, it's still like in that 90% frozen state. And this is not lights out, but this is close to lights out for Zugspitze. He was not at all ready for this. And this is where, when you have the strikers, guess what your anti-air can't do? Defend the water. Well, I guess you can switch over on this island, but you can't actually do anything when you're over top of the water, which is why you see this awkward angle of engagement for Zugspitze. Everything goes down. That is 2 Defender Cores worth of cash just down the drain. That is a refinery, a harvester, all cleaned up. Just complete destruction there. DutchArmy crushing it over at the 3rd. His 4th is being harassed. That's a great step for Zugspitze, and the space cable is here to witness the destruction of this refinery. But the fact is, this would be a pretty good exchange if the 3rd hadn't just gone down, if the 4th harvester wasn't coming back online, and if all of these cryocopters didn't escape this engagement. But DutchArmy is playing to win. This is no goof around kind of stuff. He's like, I'm just going to play straightforward, I'm going to play solid, and I'm just going to get a little edge, and I'm going to keep pushing that edge inch by inch, shoving you off of the back of the wagon. And, well, 1 striker does remain. I guess the Vindicator has to go refuel. Like I said, Zugspitze is technically not dead, but I don't know what you do from this situation. Like, get out a refinery and MCV cell or something? I'm not actually sure how you come back from this situation. Zugspitze kind of requires DutchArmy to make some phenomenal mistakes. Love the attempt. This is another thing. The proxy navy, I guess it's not really proxy. The extra naval yard way off on the edge of the map. Like, great. And then it just gets spotted. It gets shut down. 1 Yari mini-sub snuck out of there. And 4 more strikers are here. From this point on, there is almost never going to be a point where the Empire player has the army that they need to knock down the Allied player. At this point, DutchArmy is so far ahead. He has played this one so well and so carefully that there is nothing outside of some very big mistakes that will allow Zugspitze to outproduce. Oh, the striker goes down. Another striker takes just enough damage. The multi-gunner turret gets deployed. Right as these strikers try and escape, DutchArmy finds the last bits of damage to take 4 strikers down to 2. Riptide may be getting caught here, but the 3rd refinery is actually on the high ground, not out here on the water. So at the very least, Zugspitze will have that kill. And no! He mistimed it. I mean, it did look like it was going to kill that Riptide, but this is unfortunate in every sense. Engineer going for the Mecha Bay and adding insult to injury as the Tier 3, or the 3rd refinery comes back online. The War Factory goes bye-bye. Fortunately, Zugspitze did get the cash back on that Mecha Bay cell, so he does get the full cash back for himself. He did not get an engineer cap of his Mecha Bay, and then that becomes a cash boost for DutchArmy. But even so, this is dire straits for Zugspitze, and in many cases, he's made lots of good choices. He's made lots of right decisions, but ultimately, he's had a couple of bad situations, and the Chronosphere is here. DutchArmy is fully built up in this high ground base. I mean, Defense Bureau, double airfield, lots of power plants, probably cracking his Tier 3 soon as well. War Factory, barracks, and multi-gunner turrets, and he's just going to sit back and let this attack come into him. What can Zugspitze even do in this situation? I mean, I guess from a macro perspective, the only chance he really has is play super defensive, super tough to crack, but also be expanding, and those two things don't really go hand in hand. I'm going to turtle and expand at the same time. It doesn't really work that way. So, oh, and a Spectrum Tower? Come on, Spectrum Tower as well. So the Yari mini-sub really can't do much. He's almost going to find an angle, but he really would have had to have been over here to get the angle right. I thought the Spectrum Tower was far enough away as well, but ultimately it wasn't. Jav will go down. All right. Got a kill on a Jav. But man, you need so many Tengus with point defense drones when you've got 5 Apollos, and the GG comes out. Zugspitze has been defeated. Unfortunately for him, it is going to be an 0-2 start. Doesn't mean it's over. He's still got 2 more games to give before things round out. Let's see if he can turn it around in game number 3, which takes us to Fire Island, a map we have not seen very much lately, but it definitely has been around in the pool as a favorite to play on for a long, long time. And, nothing's changed. You guys know what the deal is. In the red, in the north, this is DutchArmy. He's playing allies. He is loving the score right now, but hoping that he does not see things turn around against him. Because in the south, switching it up to Cyan, but still playing Empire. This is Zugspitze. I would love to know what his plan is on Fire Island. First of all, his barracks is getting camped by a dog. Never fun, always annoying. And okay, DutchArmy is doing the thing where he just says, I'm going to deny the oil. So DutchArmy literally doesn't want to deal with that oil. He doesn't want to fight over it. He believes he can get 1 oil with his Riptide, with his... Oh, the naval yard's not up yet. With his engineer, with his Jav squad. And he's like, I'm going to get the 1 oil, and you're not going to get 2 cashbacks, and hopefully you've already built 2 engineers, and, you've made a mistake, but actually, wait, where's the dojo? Oh, the dojo's way out here. Okay, well, that dojo needs to turn around. Oh, no, the engineer's actually there. So it looks like there were some alternative dojo placements. But the engineer is making the long walk to that oil derrick. I don't think there will be any problem unless it times out just with this Riptide headed that way. Engineer should be able to rush to that oil derrick, though. He won't have to pause to do the capture count. Riptide almost gets the kill on that barracks before any of the walls come up, but oh well. Jabs will be able to kill it off before any additional wall segments come up. So just one wall segment. Cashback goes to Zugspitze, and hey, that is good enough for now. Mekabe probably going for some Tengus. We'll see if he's able to keep them alive. He tried to go aggressive in that last game, and it just didn't work out. Engineer is going to be going for the kill, and no bonsai charge. But the timing works out anyways, and the Imperial Warrior will not get the kill on the Engineer. Sad day for Zugspitze. Slow down on the Harvester. Always annoying. Not that big of a deal. At the end of time, that Burst Drone is not the win or the loss for this game. MCV repositions. Airfield is out as well. If we see, double Vindicator, maybe the Cryocopters won't be around for very long, or won't be built very quickly. But if we see only one Vindicator and 3 Apollos, then it might be Cryocopters quickly out on the map. Apollo goes for the Scout. One of the nice things, when you're playing allies on Fire Island, if you have an Apollo, there is basically no reason for you to not have the entire map scouted. It is so easy. I guess the same is true for Tengus. But Tengus don't have the ultra-fast return to base feature, but it is so easy to keep this map, the land area at least, fully scouted as allies. Like, the range you get with the Apollo is just so nice. We've got the same thing as last game. Sure, Fire Island is a different map than Battle Base Beta. I get that. This did not go well. The last time we saw this exact same move, we'll see. Maybe it'll turn out a little bit better. Third refinery up and running for DutchArmy, so he's leading in the eco once again. He is delaying that tier 2. He is delaying any cryocopters because he believes that cash will be his route to victory. And okay, this is already going a bit better than last time. 1 Harvester down, but as soon as you lose 1 Tengu, that 1 Harvester is suddenly not worth nearly as much. 2 Harvesters down would be phenomenal. I would be loving that. Looks like 1 Tengu has been eliminated. Another Tengu will be able to escape. 4 more Tengus here on the left side escaping. This has a much, much better start for Zugspitze than that Fire Island game. The Apollos, I mean, you might as well... Oh, is he going to be able to... No, okay, he's going to get caught. Never mind. I was like, you might as well turn and fight because those Apollos are not going to give up. And right as I was about to say that, it looked like the Apollos were giving up. So, I guess sometimes running and hiding does work. Or refinery can be established for that third. Is he going to go for the naval yard, though? Or is he just going to try and focus on that Mecha Bay? Because Battle Base Beta... I love the idea of the naval yard, but it just didn't pay out. Tier 2 comes out for the Mecha Bay. First Striker is out on the field, but this is a lot of infantry. The Striker needs to back away. Okay, a couple of Tengus are here, and the Striker goes down, just immediately gets shotgunned by those jabs, by those Peacekeepers, and it's going to be the front door busted wide open once again. A little bit of counterattack, a little bit of cross-mapping here for Zugspitze. Might be able to do a little bit of damage to these refineries, to these harvesters. If he gets both, now I'm feeling a lot better for Zugspitze, but if he loses his own harvester back at home, things are feeling good for DutchArmy. Looks like it's going to be the Jabs and the Peacekeepers trying to split through the middle of the map. They're going to split themselves up, make this a little bit of a harder job for this Tsunami tank, and they get the kill! That Tsunami goes down, and every time Zugspitze gets a little bit of an edge, DutchArmy takes it away! Every time there's a win, you kill a Harvester, I kill one of yours. You get a Tsunami tank to crush a couple of my units, I kill the Tsunami. Your Tengu gets a kill, I kill the Tengu, and the Jab jumps inside of the multi-gunner turret, so it doesn't even die. The Striker goes to the Apollo, and okay, this one, the Striker actually does survive, but Zugspitze keeps almost getting an edge in the game. We saw this in game number 1 as well. But just every time he gets that little bit of an edge, suddenly there is DutchArmy with some kind of way to get damage done. Oh, that point defense drone was perfect! And the Vindicator will pay the price. So many times in this game, in this series, DutchArmy's units have escaped with just a little bit of health. An Apollo here or a Riptide over there. And why are we going into a defense bureau already? We don't even have tier 2. We don't even have cryocopters. I mean, I assume that's next on the docket. But it is a chronosphere. This is a pre-7-minute chronosphere. That's not a build, ladies and gentlemen. There is no build, which is called pre-7-minute low-power chronosphere. As DutchArmy is 475 out of 450 on his power grid. So he's overstrained, but only barely. And if I remember correctly, a chronosphere requires one power plant by itself. However much power a power plant generates, that's the exact same amount that a chronosphere requires. So if you're building a chronosphere, you should also build a power plant alongside of it. And you should never have one without the other. Peacekeeper in the north. Got a little bit of eyes around the map. Naval Yard in the south, okay. Again, I love the attempt. It did not work at all on Battle Base Beta, but we'll see if it works a little bit better here. Strikers on the hunt. Looking for that kill. They're going to have to transform. They might be able to get the Riptide. Nice splits there by Zugspitze. Gets the Riptide, chases away the Apollos as well. And DutchArmy, he had to drop 2,500 on that chronosphere. So obviously he's very confident. But this 4 refinery setup, when you have 4 refineries on lockdown as allies, it's a very powerful position. Scouting Dolphin, scouting Hydrofoil along the north, but DutchArmy doesn't actually realize that the threat is from the south, and it looks like the Naval Yard was sold off. So this is a 2 Yari mini sub attack group, and I don't know, he might just go suicide on both of them. Might try and get a couple of rockets off, a couple of torpedoes, I guess is the real way to say that. And yeah, all right, takes out the Harvester. Only trades 1 Yari mini sub for it, so that's okay for Zugspitze. He's getting a little bit of an edge, but of course, every time this has happened in this game, every time Zugspitze does a little something, gets a little bit of damage done, there is DutchArmy to do even more in return. And, you know, we'll see if that actually happens. In this case, the Harvester isn't going to get caught, but barely. He will escape that icy beam of death, but it almost doesn't matter because the Defender VX core is shut down by the Hydrofoil's weapons jammer, and I think we know the end of that story. But back in the main base, this is something that's unfolding that we don't know how it's going to end. Apollo's get a good angle on the Strikers right from the beginning. There's 3 Apollos here, and they're able to split the targets. Fully Heroic is one of these Strikers, so that's phenomenal for Zugspitze. Cryocopters are now out here, which is the piece of the puzzle that was missing, and the Vindicator gets the kill as that Tsunami tank goes for the Javelin. The Peacekeeper doing massive damage to that shrunken VX. When the VX is shrunk down like that, man, those Peacekeepers just chunk it away. And this one Dolphin finds the damage, and that's exactly what we're talking about. Tank Buster's not able to get the kill on the Refiner. They're turning around and going for the last shots. They will get it finally. Zugspitze strikes back and takes DutchArmy down a peg. This is what we've been looking for. Oh my gosh, that Tsunami tank goes down anyways. Are you kidding? I did not realize that a Dolphin can 1v1 a Tsunami tank, and now these Strikers can just be whisked out to the... Yeah, get them into the building. Of course, you got a Chronosphere. Did he get the heroic one? He got the heroic one. Oh, the Chronosphere. Okay, that dodge, the dodge of the Vindicator shot by that Cryocopter, or by that Striker, was actually pretty funny. Cryocopter does go down. So much more of a back and forth in this game. This is one where I'm actually starting to believe in Zugspitze. He's not out of the woods yet. In fact, the last 30 seconds have been not disastrous for him, but pretty bad overall. But at least in this game, he's done some damage. He's found some ways to strike back against DutchArmy. And now again, hey, this is exactly what we love to see. Exploiting mobility. And, well, that Yari mini-sub is not going to be exploiting anything anymore, but trying to make use of splitting the map, forcing your opponent's attention in different directions. Zugspitze has, you know, shown himself to be good enough at harassment. I feel like in the most recent games of him that we've seen, it's mostly been, like, crisis management and ground army engagements. Those are his strengths, sort of the mid-game ground armies. And he's not necessarily a harass and win kind of guy. Demon can be a harass and win kind of guy, where he will attack you relentlessly, and even when he's playing Empire, you'll see him just go and go and go, pedal to the metal, and it feels like it's not working, and then sometimes it just slowly over time builds up and it works. And now, yeah, the Icy Beam from the sky gets the kill on that refinery for DutchArmy. As we cross the 12-minute mark, things have been going back and forth, but they're looking pretty comfortable for DutchArmy at this point. It's not over till it's over, but this is game 3. DutchArmy is up 2-0, and he is not in a like phenomenal spot, but he's certainly not in a bad spot. I mean, if you were going to choose one of these two players' positions to try and finish out this game from, you probably would choose DutchArmy at this point. He just sniped a refinery. He's held on to those 4 for a long time. The GG comes out, less than a minute on the clock on the Chronosphere, and that will do it for game number 3. Things are looking strong for the red allied player, but this is where the ultimate comeback story starts. Here on Infinity Isle in game number 4, if you want the ultimate comeback story, you have to start from the ultimate down position, which is exactly what this orange Empire player is doing on the right side of Infinity Isle. It's the beginning or the end. And it's going to be starting with an MCV and a refinery getting caught on each other on the right side. It's the Chinese player playing Japan, named after a German mountain. This is Zugspitze. On the left side, feeling phenomenal, going for an airfield rush. Don't do it. This is DutchArmy. Thank you all very much for joining me in this series, and I hope it doesn't end here. But we'll see. And what kind of, this is a cryocopter rush. Honestly, can you blame him? If you are up 3-0 in a best of 7, why would you not throw in a couple of cryo rushes? You have some games to give. And I mean, while I do not think that this is necessarily fun to play against, I definitely understand the desire of the allied player to go for a cryo rush. This one I think will be short one way or the other, and we will decide who is going on and who is staying. The MCV is crossing the map as well, so this is the dirtiest version of the cryo rush. It has a multi-gunner MCV push tagged along with it, so you're not only dealing with targets in the sky, and now our harvester has gone down, you're also dealing with multi-gunner turrets. So what do you want to do? Do you want to shoot up or do you want to shoot down? Do you want to deal with the multi-gunner turrets? Do you want to try and defend 2 refineries or try and shrink down to 1 refinery location? A couple of barracks could be a way to help deal with this problem, but of course barracks don't shoot up in Red Alert 3. Well, for the Empire they don't. And so this is the ultimate breakdown for Zugspitze. He thinks he can keep both locations safe. For the current moment, he can. He is at 200 out of 250, so with these barracks coming online, he is going to be in low power mode. He gets that cash back, but just as his second power plant does come on, of course, this power plant is completely exposed, and DutchArmy has deployed an airfield and a multi-gunner turret here on the right side. We've seen Demon come back from this position, come back from this situation. It usually requires getting these buildings out a little bit faster and having a bit of a tighter network of defenses. A naval yard, he's going to try and sneak out a naval yard. But unfortunately for Zugspitze, he has too much surface area to cover. Second cryocopter is now here, and these strikers, they can do as much as they can. These VX towers can do as much as they can, but ultimately 2 cryocopters have a lot of health, and it's very easy to peel one back. It's at least very easy for DutchArmy, for someone on his level, to peel 1 cryocopter back and then leave the other cryocopter forward. But the naval yard has been able to sneak on out. Having these Imperial Warriors here does kind of limit what exactly DutchArmy can do. It buys some time, I should say. It buys a little bit of time for Zugspitze. And Zugspitze actually did manage to grab both of the oil derricks, which is nice. One Yari. One Yari. Sell it off. Sell it off, boys. That's the end. Get rid of it. No, no, no. Cancel it. Sell it off. Just get rid of it. Ooh, Zugspitze floating 3K in the bank as well. So he has a little bit of cash. A couple of Yaris do manage to sneak out from that naval yard, and the repair is just going to be a little bit too fast. And, well, no, he might be able to get it down low enough. Oh, barely not. If those Yaris could have found a way, but the GG gets called. I said it was going to be a short one, and indeed it was. Huge thanks to Blockade Runner for sponsoring this show match series. I hope you enjoyed this little bit of variety. I don't think I've ever done a multi-game video before, but here we are, 0 Hour, Kane's Wrath, and Red Alert 3. 3 series, 6 great players stepping forward to go for the kills, go for the wins. And DutchArmy means that it is actually a 2-1. Not for his team, unfortunately. It's a 1-2 from his perspective. But he gets the win. He gets 50 bucks in his pocket. And Zugspitze will get the $25 from his team win. So that will do it for this video, for this game, for this series. Thank you all very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Huge thanks to Blockade Runner. Super cool idea. And, yeah, that is it. This is Sybert signing out.